time. But for now, Raw was absolutely the better show.
Yes.
Nothing of value is happening on Nitro.
Also, yes.
It's crazy.
Well, I guess we'll get into it.
They still drew a sellout crowd. Can you imagine?
Where were they? Like
Indianapolis.
Oh, that's a big city. Never mind. Yeah. Well, Raw, number 258, May 4th, 1998. What day is that, Greg?
It's Monday.
Okay, thank you.
What?
He's supposed to say Star Wars Day.
I see.
I'm sorry.
I see. He's not a big enough geek, Vinny.
He's actually a bigger Star Wars geek than I am.
Do you want to do the joke again and Craig can say it?
No.
No.
I don't think it'll be any funnier. So the Love Shack music played here on Raw. Why is this not just Dude Love's theme song? It's so much better in every way. So instead of Dude Love, out came a pissed off Mick Foley. He's carrying Dude's shirt and tights. He says he's not sure who he is anymore. He beat Steve Austin at the pay-per-view, but he was not world champion. As a reward for his efforts, he was not named top contender. He was not granted a rematch. Instead, the rematch was given to Goldust, a man whose resume was, quote, being a panty-wearing pansy in a women's negligee match. I just want to say negligee is a word that is not used often enough. So now, tonight, the WWF had booked him as Terry Funk in a no-holds-barred Falls Count Anywhere match, which he said was a deliberate attempt to kill him.
I think they were right.
Kill both of them and get them out of Vince's way. He said, I've worked too hard for 13 years to suck up to a lowlife like Vince McMahon, and I'm not going to let my wife and kids see me out here bumping and grinding with, as he put it, second-rate strippers.
I could not even believe my ears.
Inaccurate.
I almost shut the show off.
Let me tell you something.
It's like, where you been, dude?
I have been around some second-rate strippers. I have paid first-rate money for third-rate services from second-rate strippers several times.
Huh.
These were not second-rate strippers.
No, not at all. As we saw at the end of the show.
No. I can only assume he went backstage and apologized vociferously for getting carried away. He vowed he would never wear the Dude Love gear ever again. Identified himself as Cactus Jack, although I think that was a mistake because they all just ignored it. He demanded Vince come out. Vince obliged. So Vince put the heat on Foley. Said it's your fault that Steve Austin is still world champion. And then the next night you came out here and whined and cried just like all these fans when they fail at their jobs. This match against Terry Funk, you see, is not a punishment, it is a reward. It is an opportunity to beat your best friend within an inch of his life, tear him limb from limb, rip the beating heart out of his chest, and then you'll prove you have what it takes to be a world champion. And by this point, Foley was starting to smile. And Vince says, I have faith in you. And I'm sure you'll get it done tonight. And he gave him a little slap, and Foley just smiled more. And then Austin's music hit.
Before you go on, Mick Foley here was like every real-life wrestler.
Basically, yeah.
Where some shit happens to you in the company, and you're really mad, and you talk to Vince, and Vince gives you the big pep talk, and he's your boss, and you really want to believe that he likes you, and you really want to believe that he's doing what's best for you, and so you just fall for it hook, line, and sinker.
Yes.
And Mick and Vince has clearly done this promo 1,000 times.
It's probably true.
This was one of the best promos he ever cut in his life.
This was so awesome.
Convincing this guy that, hey, I know you're mad, but this is for you. I'm doing this for you. I'm giving you an opportunity. Nobody in the world gives opportunities like I do. This is your chance. It was amazing.
And it was so great because Vince came off as the ultimate lying, cheat, snake manipulator. Funny how that works. And Foley came off like a guy who was mentally fragile enough to fall for it, but also mentally fragile enough to still be very, very dangerous. He's not just an idiot. He's just unhinged.
Both these promos were very good, and I could not take my eyes off Vince McMahon's pompadour, which defied all physics.
It did seem to start like there were hairs starting at the front of his hairline.
Yes.
They were just going all the way back to the bottom of his neck.
Right.
Just amazing.
Didn't move a bit.
No. So Steve Austin comes out, Vince runs away, and I'm looking at this, and at first I think, hey, Austin's got his belt with him. And I said, no, wait, he's got a rope or something. And then Jim Ross clarified things when he said, quote, it looks like Austin's got a grappling hook in his left hand there.
Yeah. A grappling hook.
He said it so casually, as if it was a fanny pack or Zubas. It's just things wrestlers have. Grappling hooks. So Austin uses the grappling hook to tear down the Love Shack set. And I got to know how many times he had to practice throwing this thing, because I don't believe Steve Austin actually works out with grappling hooks regularly.
I'll bet he didn't practice once.
Just launched it up there.
He had so much fun here. He destroyed the set. He jumped up and down.
Yeah.
No knee braces on. I thought, man, this is a brave dude.
The man does have a ranch.
That's true.
Now. He didn't then.
Brian,
So-
just go with it.
He chased Vince to ringside, but didn't feel like chasing him anymore. He stood and cheered, or stood on the ropes and let everyone cheer. He's going back. He tears off his shirt in defiance, and man, he's huge. The stuff with Vince and Foley was golden here. It was awesome. Owen Hart and The Rock versus Farooq and Steve Blackman. So, Farooq hit a Dominator on The Rock a minute in, and Owen broke up the pin. Then a minute later, Farooq hit a pile driver. Rock bounced a foot in the air, and Owen broke up the pin again.
Well, apparently they hadn't instituted the rule yet.
I thought you only got one.
Well, now,
So
that's the new rule.
Rock has taken two finishers. He responds by popping up and beating up Farooq. I don't know who put this match together. Blackman gets the hot tag. His whole gimmick is that he does cool martial arts kicks. So he came in here, instead of doing cool martial arts kicks, he did pro wrestling drop kicks, and they sucked. Let's see. Rock broke up a third pin. Double J interfered. Owen pinned Blackman with a spin kick. Did I get all that?
That's about it. Who could possibly care?
I don't know.
God, they got The Rock, and he's feuding with... He's in there with Steve Blackman and Farooq and Owen Hart in a nothing tag team match.
And Jeff Jarrett.
Just getting beat up by Farooq right and left.
Yeah.
This was a misstep.
Well, you know what was not a misstep?
This was the greatest video package I've ever seen.
We got a Gerald Briscoe tribute video.
You know what's so awesome about this? Just last week, I was explaining the Gerald Briscoe character. I hadn't seen this yet. I said, here's a guy who has worked for this guy his whole life. He was a wrestler. Now he's out of wrestling. He's got his body shop, but Vince is still paying him to this day. And he's there. He owes everything he has to Vince McMahon. This guy could ask him to do anything, and he is loyal. He's the most loyal soldier there is. Him and Pat Patterson.
Yes.
Then, the very next week, they aired a video package. I could have just narrated it. They could have just taken everything I said last week on this program and aired it in that video package. It was everything I just said right there. He's in his house.
And yet more.
His family's there. He's in front of the fireplace. This Mr. McMahon, no first name, Mr. McMahon, he's everything I have in life.
Yes.
I owe to Mr. McMahon.
All his championships that he
Yep.
won before Vince was in power.
Yep.
His body shop, his family, young Wes, still awkward with a terrible haircut. He owes all of it to Vince McMahon, Mr. McMahon. This was awesome. Okay, the first Edge vignette. He was very sad in the subway. Then he went on the streets where he was angry. He was beating up random dudes.
Well, he missed his
Mr.
bus.
Sub. Mr. Train. Then he was sad again, sitting amongst a bunch of candles. And a narrator asked in an emotionless tone, what could have driven a man to such depths?
Man, it's a loaded question.
Wow, you think you know him.
This is the prettiest, healthiest, cleanest, most well-dressed street urchin I've ever seen. DX came out for a promo. Not everything was better on Raw. We started with a dick joke.
It started was a series of dick jokes, ended with a dick joke.
Mm-hmm.
It's all dick jokes.
Well, to be fair, in between there were butt and poop jokes as well.
It's so horrible.
This was really bad.
It's hideous.
And the Road Warriors were involved and were no better.
I feel bad that's the one negative for the network. Like all the 10-year-olds that thought DX was so awesome. Now you go back and watch them and you're just sickened.
I have
and
tried
embarrassed.
to defend some of the stuff they've done in Pop Bar Weeks.
It's terrible.
I'm not defending this.
It's terrible.
This was dumb.
It is a classic example of how Shawn Michaels could make anything great.
Apparently.
The original DX with Shawn Michaels was awesome. He pulled off having a giant salami and stroking it on national television. These idiots are out here playing 10-year-olds, and it's cringeworthy. Cringeworthy.
The worst thing is the Road Warriors came out and they combated the 10-year-old humor with 10-year-old humor.
Yeah. They fought they fought 'Pooh' with 'Pooh'. Basically what they did here. The WWF logo walked into a bar. Not a setup. This actually happened. The punchline is that it drank a beer and then belched.
Cool.
Not a high point in the Monday Night Wars. They recapped Paul Bearer claiming to be Kane's father, the best part of which was the Enigma knockoff music. Dan Severn versus Savio Vega. They plugged the UFC pay-per-view that weekend, which is weird. I mean,
I've been doing it for a while.
It was not weird at the time. It was not weird at the time, but it sure is weird to see now. So Dan Severn's been on Raw for a couple months now, and he's been a badass and a shooter, but this is the first time he came out and just said, I am a Greco-Roman wrestler. I'm going to work to get the clinch, and when I get the clinch, I'm going to throw your ass down. Over and over.
And then Savio's in there trying to stop the takedown.
Yeah.
I was like, dude.
Didn't work.
It didn't work, but he tried for a while. I was like, what in the world are you thinking, dude?
Savio cut him off for a bit, and then Severn basically grabbed him and did a shoot jackhammer and finished him off with an armbar.
And a choke.
Did he do the armbar choke
What
again?
the hell did Cole call it?
At the same time.
He said he got him with the armbar and a choke out. It's like, dude, can you do 5 minutes of research? Can you talk to Dan before the match? A choke out? No one calls it that.
This part.
Yeah.
We had a quick shot of Jerry Lawler and Paul Bearer backstage, and they're standing there smiling, looking in the camera, and King's got his microphone, and the music's playing, and Cole narrates, Jerry Lawler will interview Paul Bearer next.
This was the best thing I've ever seen.
And
This was what turned around the Monday Night Wars.
the music stops,
Segment.
and the director says, cut.
Yes.
And the cameraman puts the camera down, but it's still on. And so we have Lawler asking somebody, can somebody give me some water, please? And Paul Bearer's looking around. I had a Coke somewhere. I can't find it now. And Lawler says, hey, Paul, you got to tell me the truth about what you were saying last week.
The camera has been set down. It's a little bit crooked.
It's like on a bag or something.
They're both in the locker room. It was, listen, like what actually happened, if we describe it to you, you're going to be like, that doesn't sound that great. But if you would have watched how well Paul Bearer and Jerry Lawler pulled this off,
Yeah.
it was so fucking amazing. Jerry Lawler is Jerry Lawler. He just wants to know about the fucking.
Yes.
Paul Bearer is a southern gentleman, an embalmer. I mean, he's a little dastardly, but when he starts the story, like he's very kind of polite about it. Mm-hmm. He's just talking about, I was just a young feller.
Innocent.
Used to go to the wrestling matches with my friends. Lawler just wants to know about sticking the salami in the Undertaker's mom.
He had, where did it go? I wrote them all down. Every metaphor he had for sex. Slipping the salami. You buried his baloney. Bumping uglies was also in there.
There was not one thing that Jerry Lawler said that I couldn't believe he'd actually say.
Absolutely.
When talking to somebody in the locker room.
Absolutely.
He wanted to know every detail. There's like no other person that could have played Jerry Lawler to make this as believable as it was.
Absolutely not.
It wouldn't have worked with Ross. It wouldn't have worked with
no.
any of these idiots they've got nowadays.
No.
But Jerry Lawler was the perfect guy to have to drag out of Paul Bearer all of the salacious details of his romp with the Undertaker's mother.
That's a great word, romp.
And Paul just starts out so polite, but man, when he starts thinking about it, he just gets going.
He says,
and at the end, he's talking about how she's on her back, one leg's in New York, and one leg's in L.A. And he starts howling with laughter. This was the greatest thing I've ever seen. How dare you denigrate this crowd? You of all people.
This was dumb.
Oh, get out of here.
You're glossing over the part where Paul looks around. Never mind, obviously they think the camera's off, but there's still a bunch of other crew around, you would think. Paul asks Jerry, can you keep a secret? Then he goes into his tale about coming home drunk from the wrestling show, only 19 years old, and there's Mama Undertaker at home and nothing but a teddy.
Yep.
Do they still have teddies, by the way? Is that still a thing?
How big was Undertaker's mother?
Fair question.
Because there's the Grizzly, too.
I see.
Yeah.
So Paul says, truth be told, I had never been with a woman before. And I wasn't very fat back then. Lawler laughed at this. And Paul's like, I wasn't. In fact, he said, I was kind of studly. That's what he said. Kind of studly.
I don't know.
And
I wasn't there.
He did give the impression, in fact, that he was overwhelmed by a more experienced woman. And then by the end, he was the conqueror. And then he had heard small footsteps coming and it stopped just in time to stop baby Undertaker from witnessing his mother in this state. And they had a great laugh.
God, it was so great.
And Lawler doesn't give two shits about the kid.
No, he doesn't care about anything.
Doesn't care where Papa Undertaker was.
He just wanted to know the details
Tell me
of the tryst.
in graphic, explicit detail about how you boned that woman.
Yep.
They go to break, and they come back. Now, I've been watching Jerry Lawler for almost 30 years. I didn't know it was possible for him to feel or express the emotion of shame. But he pulled it off here. He was contrite. He was ashamed. He had removed his silly pro wrestling crown. He was looking blankly into the camera. He said, I have been told my locker room conversation with Paul Bearer accidentally was shown on television. It was never meant to be in the air. I apologize to Paul. I apologize to any viewers who may have been offended. I'm sorry. And they faded away. He was so convincing. I believed he was embarrassed. And I didn't think he could be embarrassed.
Or he's such a great worker.
Or he's the best worker
he was
of all
so
time.
Overjoyed, but he knew he had to pretend that he was greatly embarrassed by this.
Yes. Had a Sable workout video that was hysterical for many reasons.
I didn't know in a workout session it involved 4 wardrobe changes.
At least, and makeup and hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. It involved that. It appeared 10 minutes of hitting a bag and 6 hours of lifting weights. Because it's Vince McMahon. And big muscles are what makes you scary, not fighting. And of course, her giant fake boobs were everywhere. Marc Mero versus Double J. At this point here in May of 1998, when Double J's music hits, I just get angry.
You know what? At least it's only like a few segments now. Like before Mania, there was stuff like this, like in every single segment. And every now and then you get a little bit of Steve Austin, a little bit of Shawn Michaels, and it was just back to this stuff. There was at least enough different stuff on this show that I was mildly annoyed, but at least it was over quickly.
This was absolutely worthless because basically you paid to see Double J's entrance, and that's it.
I'm with Craig on this
nothing
one.
has changed.
Steve Blackman ran out and attacked him. There was no match. You all missed out on the Marc Mero Double J Classic.
We won't miss out.
DOA and LOD 2000 versus DX.
This.
Where to begin?
Lawler pointed out at the very beginning, this is going to be a tag team title match, but the Road Warriors made it an 8-man, thus making a non-title match, thus screwing the DOA.
Not only that. DX, China is told she has to leave. But X-Pac, because first they kick out Sonny.
Yes.
No valets. Ref then says he's going to kick out China. X-Pac says, no, she's wrestling. I will leave.
And they had, in fact, earlier advertised X-Pac's first match.
That's right.
So
That's right.
It was a bait and switch.
So he leaves, and they throw China in. So basically, it's 4 baby faces against 3 heels and a woman. Now, granted, she's the 9th wonder of the world or whatever, but, I mean, it's made very clear in this match that she's not at the level of the men. She can do like a Hurricane Rana, but she makes a cover at one point. She just gets tossed 25 feet in the air. It's an unfair fight for the baby faces. They've got the literal man advantage. And then these fucking morons cannot help but get in a fight. I mean, could you have done more to make DOA and Legion of Doom look like just total complete idiots and losers than what they did in this match right here?
It would be hard.
And it wasn't even a bad match.
That was a good match until the finish.
It was a good match until they just made the baby faces look like morons.
It was a good match until Skull and or 8-Ball's comeback.
Well, yes. They're bad wrestlers. And one of them was making a comeback when his partner started brawling with both Road Warriors. He left to join the brawl. DX stood there laughing. There was no bell. There was no announcement. I don't know the finish of the match. The brawl continued backstage. Animal took a chalkboard to the head.
China did a Hurricane Rana.
Yep. She also took a bump off the top to the floor.
Took a bump off the top, tumbled over to the floor.
No sold it, popped back in.
Yeah, her selling needs
Well, she's supposed
some
to
work. You can still sell.
She was working with the Road Warriors in DOA. I think she could sell a little bit.
Not to mention, she was 200 pounds.
being hit. She just fell to the floor. I was fine with it.
All right.
She fell off the top rope, hit the apron, and landed on the floor. That's a long-ass way down, dude.
But she's China.
Oh, my God. Get out of here. Don't fall for this gimmick.
I'm fine with it.
I thought it sucked.
Goldust versus Kane.
And it's only going to get worse.
Yep.
I'll remember you said this, Vinny.
All right.
When she's shoved down your throat, like Paul Bear's salami,
Oh, Brian.
Wow.
you're going to be like, oh, my God.
There's always one point every week where one of us just crosses the line. I've done it many times.
Dude,
me.
what do you expect on a stupid show with DX all over?
Well, there's that.
Crying out loud.
So, no Luna with Goldust, and he had his old music back, so I'm assuming the artist known as Goldust era is over, which is great news. Kane still had his arm wrapped over his gear. The announcer said this match was booked to punish Goldust for failing to win the title from Austin last week. So this went like a minute, and then Undertaker came out and brawled with Bearer and Kane.
God, all of the same thing, segment after segment.
You know, I remember thinking we should track the finishes.
I don't even hate it. Like, I actually like this show, but as we recap it, it's the same thing, finish after finish.
We had a distraction and a pinfall. We had not a match because Blackman ran out and attacked Jarrett. And here we have just no finish at all whatsoever. That's what we have so far. I don't think I missed anything. Okay, so yeah. Oh, we had not a finish for the tag match.
Yep.
This match never started. So we've
Right.
had two matches that technically, two matches with no finish, one match with a distraction pinfall, and one match. Oh fuck, who cares? I lost track.
Point is,
It's a lot of shit.
it sucked.
It sucked and it's repetitive. Oh, let's see. The only good thing about this is Taker and Kane and all the goofs brawl backstage, and they cut back to Paul Bearer, who's still at ringside, and he looks right into the camera and just screams, "Damn you! Damn you, Undertaker! That's my son!"
I love Paul Bearer.
He is the best.
He is the best.
There's one guy ever who could have made Paul Bearer work.
Yeah,
And it was Paul Bearer.
And there's one guy ever that would make The Undertaker work.
And it was The Undertaker.
And they ended up together. And you know what? There's one guy ever that would have made Kane work.
Really?
Because look at how many stupid fake Undertakers. There was a fake Kane.
Yeah.
They had these fake goofballs for 20 years. And exactly 3 guys worked.
Yeah.
Kane, Undertaker, and Paul Bearer.
Absolutely.
It really is a miracle.
Had a Mick Foley Terry Funk video package.
I was shocked at all the blood shown on this video package.
lot of deathmatch videos from ECW in Japan. They also play the Dracula theme, which I always love when they use.
That's the blood.
That's the blood. Foley's talking about how he would go through any kind of torture just for the honor of saying he had beaten Terry Funk. Then we had that clip from Funk and Foley in the ring a few months ago talking about how much fun all this violence is. Various insanity from both men in the WWF, and then a month back, I guess, DX tied Funk to a cage and took Cactus out the night after Mania. Then Cactus came back as Dude Love, and we got to see the short Dudette again. Best thing on the show so far. That was an awesome video package. Speaking of videos and packages,
Oh, dear.
it's time for a Val Venis vignette.
This was amazing.
It really was, for many reasons.
The most amazing thing is, he's been doing these vignettes for what, 3 weeks now? 4 weeks?
A lot longer than that.
He's here, he's there. Like sometimes there's a random girl or whatever.
Sure.
Finally, they got a hold of Jenna Jameson.
Before the crazy.
Meh.
Oh.
Before some of it.
He
So-
is standing there with a helmet on
Stop
in
right
the
there.
bushes.
Craig used this exact line a few weeks ago. He remembered this.
Yes.
Val Venis pops out of the bush with his purple helmet.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Go ahead.
He has to introduce
Right.
Jenna Jameson. No one has ever been so excited to introduce anybody in their whole entire life. The absolute unbridled joy with which Sean Morley got to announce that I've got Jenna Jameson here as part of my fucking character on WWE. He was so happy.
As if to say, I'm a fan of her work.
No, it was more like finally something. You know what I mean? Like he's doing his best with this gimmick, but it's so corny. Finally, they threw him a bone, so to speak. Jenna Jameson. He actually got that for a vignette. He was so happy. He was overjoyed.
he took off his helmet and said, "We're on the set of my new movie, Soldier of Love."
Is that what he said?
Yes.
Yeah. That's what he said.
I missed that part.
And then Jenna comes up from the bush, and she's got the straps with the quote unquote bullets in them.
Yeah.
But there are fashioned penises in the strap.
I
not
did
aware.
not know that.
There were.
Your TV is higher def than mine, apparently.
I guess. I just saw bullets.
They were not bullets. They were flesh colored.
I did notice many of them were bent,
Right.
which bullets traditionally are not.
There was 24, 26 of them, 12, 13 on each side.
I was looking at her tits.
Well, that's where they were, Brian. They were covering the naughty
Not
bits.
counting fucking bullets.
I'm just saying there was many, many toys.
Oh, gosh.
What do you want out of this review?
So anyway.
Vinny is beat red right now.
So Jenna says, let's go back in the hole or whatever.
Look at him. Look at him right now.
I actually am. I can tell.
Do you need medical assistance?
I might. So they go back down into the bush for more fucking. Then they go back to the arena.
We didn't write this.
No, don't go mad at me.
This is not. Everything we're talking about was by design by WWE.
Right.
Yes. They go back to the arena. And there's 3 fans there. They're not beat red like myself, but they are slack-jawed. They cannot believe what they have just seen. I don't know if they liked it. I don't know if they hated it. I don't know if they were embarrassed, but they clearly were not expecting it. That's for sure.
And the funny thing is, later on in his career, Val Venis turned babyface.
He was a babyface from day one, wasn't he?
I was going to say, what took him so long?
Then Steve Austin's music hit and these same fans.
You
were very
realize
happy.
how much hotter the small dudette was than Jenna Jameson on this show?
Very
Yes.
much so.
Not even the same universe. It's crazy.
I'm well aware. So we had Terry Funk versus Mick Foley in the main event with Steve Austin on commentary.
A lot of brain cells were killed in this match.
This was like, oh my God.
I don't know if
It
I've
was
ever-
like a great match, but it was fucking horrible.
See, yeah. This was 2 guys who destroyed their brain cells in their bodies for 15 minutes, and yet for 14 minutes, it was pretty boring. There were some highlights here and there, but mainly it was just, I'll hit you in the head. You hit me in the head. Let's brawl through the crowd for a while and disappear.
At one point, Foley landed on his back, and you could see that his sweats were ripped in the crotch.
Oh,
And
maybe you've been watching that Jenna video.
Yeah. Unflattering.
Well, yes.
You know, we're talking about Mick Foley and Terry Funk.
Yeah.
Like, that's what's so infuriating about it. It would be one thing if it were Skull and 8-Ball wrestling each other and they suck. And, like, the best they can get out of each other is to hit each other in the head with stuff.
Gotcha.
Which I still wouldn't condone, but, like, I can understand that being the plan because they're no good at anything else. These guys are great.
Yeah.
They didn't need to hit each other as hard as they could in the head with chairs in order to have a great hardcore match. But they did because it was the 90s.
Yeah. They attacked 2 hot dog dudes, suplexed them on the floor.
God, there were hot dog dudes all over both shows this
They
evening.
actually were. I hadn't thought of
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Funk did a moonsault off the balcony onto Foley and the hot dog dudes.
Oh, thank God they were there.
That's what they were there for.
Holy cow.
And then he still went down screaming, my neck, my neck. And so Foley grabbed him and hit a pile driver through a table. Kept on brawling. Austin on commentary. First, his mic had technical difficulties. They just put in some pops and scratches. So he threw his headset aside and he took Lawler's. It was broken. It had pops and scratches too. So he punched Jerry Lawler in the face.
That was so weird about
awesome.
it, too. As a guy who does audio, this was obviously like a gimmick.
Sure.
Like the story was that Vince was screwing with his headsets.
Yes.
So I'm watching it, and first his headset gets all wacky. Then he switches with Lawler. His headset gets all wacky. And then he punches out Jerry Lawler. And then he puts the headset back on. And then it just wasn't wacky anymore.
Right.
I was like, what in the fuck was the point of that at all?
They were there punishing Lawler.
I don't know.
All I know is once they got Lawler out of there, and this is no disrespect to Jerry Lawler, I'm a fan of his on commentary, but Jim Ross and Steve Austin should be the Raw color commentators, and they should be the Raw commentators today.
Absolutely.
They were so great. Now, granted, it was mostly Austin swearing and threatening to kick people's ass, but every now and then he'd call the action. He'd count along with the pinfalls.
Talk about how great it was.
Yep, they got into a banter. He got both guys over.
How the stakes were so high.
Yep, he did the job of an announcer. And I just watched and I thought, man, like, this is not his role. They threw this guy on the headsets with his buddy Jim Ross, and they were great together. Yeah. And I got to watch all these idiots, Otunga, all these numbskulls every Monday and Thursday. And you know that Jim Ross and Steve Austin are available.
They are.
Like, you could use them. You could try to make your product better.
They both have contracts, too.
But no, they're just Austin's going to sit on his ranch, do podcasts, and Jim Ross is going to get paid and not commentate. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah. So eventually, Foley hit a pile driver onto a chair and won. And he continued his assault after the match till Austin got in the ring to confront him. He threw a beer in Foley's face. Foley was blinded. He put... Pat Patterson was a special ref.
Right.
Which had nothing to do with anything except they needed him to be there at the end. So Foley puts Patterson in the mandible claw, but then he releases it. Patterson goes after Austin with a chair. Austin sees it coming, gives him a stunner. So Austin's music plays. Foley leaves, but then as he's leaving, Austin's music cuts out and Dude's music starts. And out comes Vince with the tall dudette and the short dudette. Oh, short dudette. He presented Foley with the Dude Love gear, a symbol that he had in fact earned his top contender spot. And Foley, who earlier had vowed not to sell out to the man and not to dance with these quote-unquote second-rate strippers, he took the gear, he danced with the women, they had a party. These young ladies looked so happy to hug this sweaty, bloody fat guy.
Mm-hmm.
He abducted the little one.
They all danced. Foley threw the short one over his shoulder. She was having just a ball. She had a fun time. And they went backstage to have what I assume was a very creepy orgy.
Line crossed.
Yeah, hours ago.
That was way worse than my line.
Oh, how dare you. All I know is...
The show was 1,000 times better than Nitro.
It was, specifically because this Dude Love thing, I was burying it last summer, or last fall maybe. But the way it has gone from Dude Love was the embodiment of a midlife crisis. A guy trying and failing to reenact his childhood dream. And it failed, and the fans rejected it. So he went back to an identity that they liked, Cactus Jack, but then the fans rejected Jack too. So Foley turned his back on the fans, tried to give the Dude Love thing one more try. It didn't work out. Now he's thrown everything away. But Vince has taken him, manipulated him, and warped him into being Dude Love, Vince McMahon's personal assassin. This storyline is awesome. This storyline is amazing. It is deep on so many levels, and it works on so many levels. It's great.
And we got to see Vince McMahon dancing, which is always common.
And we got that short dudette.
I would much rather watch the short dudette.
That's fair.
Over almost anything I've ever seen in my life. I like her.
I'm gathering, yes.
And I'll never see her again on Raw, so may as well talk about her now.
That's it.
Yeah. Okay, Raw, number 259, May 11th, 1998. Vince McMahon comes out for a promo. He says Steve Austin will be in a tag team match tonight, but now he wants to introduce a man who has proven he's willing to make sacrifices to be number one contender, and here is corporate Dude Love. Dude is in sweatpants with a cheap shirt and jacket.
And sneakers.
And sneakers. His fake teeth are in. His beard is neatly trimmed, and the non-beard part is actually shaved. His hair is pulled back in a ponytail. He is smiling. He's very happy. He cuts a calm, understated, intentionally dull promo about how he had been confused about his identity last week, but now he knows exactly who he is. A well-educated man, a speaker of several languages, a lover of women, a leader of men, and a surprisingly good dancer for a big man. Which is one of those lines that has stuck with me here 19 years later, and I blocked all the rest of the show out of my memory.
Oh, so see, now that's two good segments.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. It's already starting.
Hey, write them down if you want.
Already starting.
So he tells Vince he has found his smile. He demands a hug. Vince returns the hug. So Vince says he's proud of Dude, and I got a surprise for you. It's the guest timekeeper for the title match at Over the Edge. It's Gerald Briscoe. And here's the guest ring announcer, Pat Patterson. And now here's the guest referee.
Now let's talk about what he said about the guest referee. He said this man was a man who stood tall amid the abyss of mediocrity.
Yes.
He did say that.
And Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler were like, what did he say? Hit me again. I'm Vince McMahon. He has wacky ways to say all sorts of words. The abyss of mediocrity. Man of principle, set new standards of officiating. Here he is. Nobody comes out. Everybody laughs. The fans laughed. He did such a great job setting it up that the fans believed there was a man. And then when no man came out, they ridiculed Vince. What a stupid crowd.
Did you see their signs this week? This
I
was
don't
a
normally
stupid
bury
crowd.
the crowds, but this was a stupid crowd. Vince goes to the back. It's up to Pat Patterson. Pat Patterson has to say that this referee is the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. A reference to Bret Hart. Which, by the way, I'll say it again, this stupid crowd believed it was Bret Hart.
Yeah.
They gasped when he said this. They thought that Bret fucking Hart was going to come out. Of course, Pat Patterson is one of the Stooges, so he needs to be just a numbskull.
Oh, they were in Baltimore. No wonder.
So he fucks it up. He says the best there was, the best there is, the best there ever will be. And of course, it's Vince McMahon.
Actually, it's Vince in obviously a too tight ref shirt with the sleeves cut off.
It's Jack LaLanne.
As he comes out, the camera zooms in on his pecs like he's Sonny.
Yeah.
It was creepy.
Well, it was awesome.
I'm sure that was by design.
This
Sure
segment,
was too.
This segment was great. For the rest of my life, I will fuck it up. I will say abyss. I will. Not even on purpose. Now that I've heard it one time and I've ridiculed it, I personally will fuck it up, guaranteed. I love this segment.
So Vince walks to the ring. He does Austin's entrance. They all pose together. Dude's music plays, and the big man begins to dance. Kevin Kelly is backstage to interview Austin as soon as he arrives when Sable walks by and blows him off. DX invaded the WCW offices in Atlanta. By which I mean...
You know,
Yes.
Yeah.
every week now we talk about how lame DX is.
They were.
This is like romanticized. This was so lame. This was by far the lamest yet. Now you have to see how it all ties together to fully comprehend exactly how lame it was. But each segment was so lame, and as a total package, when they finally get back to the arena, it hits terminal lamosity. That's what this was.
So they
You
went,
hear me, Craig? Terminal lamosity.
Yeah, I heard you.
They went to a generic office building in the outskirts of Atlanta, showed a World Championship Wrestling sign on a wall somewhere, talked about how cool Titan Towers is.
They went to CNN Center.
Well, before that,
Yeah,
they did,
before
Brian.
that.
But first, they went to the actual offices, which is just in some random warehouse district or something. And a security guard would not let them in, so they made some jokes, and then they didn't get let in, and that was that.
This was so lame.
And Jim Ross gave the name of a WCW executive who had called the police.
I think it was Nick Lambros. He called 911. He didn't call the police. He called emergency.
It's an emergency. The
Do you
New
know-
Age Outlaws here. They're outlaws, for Christ's sake.
You know, I ranted a couple of weeks ago about when I locked my keys in the car. And this was in Kenmore. You know where the Kenmore Taco Time is? It's very close to the police station.
When I think about it, yes.
Yeah. It would have been somewhat of a hike, but it was close to the police station. Now, I had heard if you lock your keys in the car, a policeman can open up your car. Well, anyway, go to the website, and the police department flat out says, call 911 for an emergency.
Correct.
But if it's not an emergency, here's the phone number of the police.
Right.
This fucking guy called 911. That was worth belittling him on national television.
It's true.
To be fair to the office guy and the security guard there, you're not going to let anybody in your office with a camera crew, much less a bunch of
No, of course not.
degenerates.
Well, they were weaponized as well.
I'm not even
I think it's
blaming.
a bigger
I'm
issue.
not blaming them. I'm blaming,
Oh, yeah.
I'm blaming WWF.
I am blaming calling 911.
Yes.
Well,
I'm blaming the security guard did his job as he was supposed to do. He made the right decision, did the good thing. I'm blaming WWF for putting this lame segment on TV. Instead of saying, you know what, we tried something, it didn't work, let's just not air it.
that's like filming a guy knocking on a friend's door and the friend doesn't answer the door.
Basically.
Surprise.
So Kevin Kelly heard knocking on the door at the building, the arena. He said, "Oh, it's Steve Austin." As if Steve Austin's going to do something so lame as to walk up to the arena and bang on the door to be let in, instead of just driving his truck through a wall. No, the door raised, and much worse. It's Al Snow and Head. They had tickets, but they couldn't figure out how to get to their seats. Then they walked back outside.
I got a great way to describe Raw. You're kind of right, Vinny, but you're still wrong. Nitro was worse. Raw is like, here's how you can imagine Raw. It's a Big Mac, where you've got bun, cheese, meat, bun, cheese, meat, bun, right?
What about the special sauce, pickles, and onions?
That's all, whatever. The buns of this show are the good stuff.
Absolutely.
The short dudette back?
The beginning, the end, and the middle is all good. Everything else is total shit, as we'll see on this show.
Oh, the joke's running through my head right now.
I just like that Brian's favorite part of the Big Mac is the bun.
Well, I'm saying the favorite part. I'm just thinking of a visual analogy for this Raw show. Bun, meat, cheese, special sauce.
So you're into
bun,
that.
meat, cheese, special sauce, bun.
You're into that meat.
The only good thing about this show is the buns, which is a fact.
Vader versus Barry Windham.
Special sauce. That's what this was right here.
What a terrible match.
Fucking hideous.
What an awful, awful match.
It was horrible.
And yet...
And by the way, you moved on from Head too fast. Horrible. That segment was horrible.
It was.
God damn, and it got worse.
Not the first time Vince has heard that.
Craig is beside himself right now. So Vader and Barry Windham had an awful, awful, awful match. Vader's first match back after months away, since Kane hit him with a wrench. He fell down when Barry tried to sunset flip and fell on him.
Oh, this poor guy.
Time froze.
And Barry just screamed.
He had an awful brawl. Then they did a spot where Barry did a sunset flip again, and Vader fell on him on purpose this time. He won with a Vader bomb. The Midnight Express attacked. He fought both of them off in a brawl that was barely any better than the match. An absolutely terrible match that was neither the worst thing on this show nor the worst thing on Nitro.
You know, the thing with this match is it's one thing if you're 205 Live and you're a cruiserweight and you just gotta move fast. Vader and Barry Windham are giant men. Why did they have to try to go so fast? That was the problem with this match.
Because they had 2 minutes.
They were trying... You know what, then? They shouldn't have tried to get all their shit in. Because this got all fucked up. And by the way, can you imagine wrestling Vader and thinking that you're going to do a sunset flip?
And he won't fall?
But he loses his balance and sits on you when you're not expecting it.
I'd quit. Wrestling is not for me anymore.
Jim Ross announced during this match that Vader would be taking on Kane at the next pay-per-view Over the Edge in a mask match.
That's right, mask versus mask.
I forgot.
Like,
Cool.
we don't know what Vader looks like without his mask.
Ross also noted, we have no formats today. Somebody's asleep on the job.
Mentioned a few times in the show.
I was like, well, it's a Monday Night Wars, dude. Get used to it.
Yep. So Austin arrived. You show him pulling up and getting out of his car, and Kevin Kelly says, "Stay tuned." And then he interviewed him during the break.
This was historic. This was the beginning of an announcer being absolutely useless. Kevin Kelly has been waiting for 15 minutes to talk to Steve Austin. Steve Austin shows up, and Kevin Kelly says, "I'm here to tell you that you have a match tonight. We don't know who your partner is. We don't know who your opponents are. Do you have any comment?" That was his job. And Austin's like, well, fuck no, I don't have a stupid comment. I don't know who my opponent is or my partner or anything. Where's Vince to tell me what's going on? That was his whole segment.
He took a mic and he stormed off in search of Vince, who he did not find for several hours. Or I guess an hour and a half. Hawk versus Skull.
This was bad.
You know what? This was the beef.
Sometimes I go into a match with very, very low expectations, and I am pleasantly surprised. And sometimes I go into a match with very, very low expectations, and I find out I gave them too much credit. I expected shit going in. I got piles of shit coming out. This was so fucking bad.
This was a very, very bad match.
Skull, I need to look it up, but he had been a pro wrestler. They were at WrestleMania 11. So he'd been a WWF level wrestler for like 5 years by this point. He did a backbreaker in this match worse than anything Vladimir Pietrov ever did. At least Vladimir Pietrov bent his legs. I swear to God, he did a backbreaker where he didn't bend his knees. I don't know how that's possible.
Oh, you saw it.
Kinda. So the match is going on. Ross says the match has slobber knocker possibilities long after it's deep into slobber knocker territory. DOA does an illegal switch that the announcers missed. 8-Ball pins Hawk with the shittiest small package you ever saw in your life.
It was so awesome.
Now let me tell you something. When I say it was the shittiest small package you ever saw in my life, you see this chip in my tooth right here? You know how I got it? Livewire small packaged me. Onto my head like it shoot DDT, and my teeth got chipped. This small package was worse than that one.
They get in the ring. Are you all right, Vinny? You're gonna make these beat
I hated
red.
the show. I hated the show so badly.
It was bad. But it was funny. They both got in the ring. Okay, this is the finish.
Mm-hmm.
And Hawk tried to small package him.
Kinda.
No, he tried to small package him. And 8-Ball had to put on the brakes and shoot, reverse small package him, and hold him down for the pin.
There was a 30-second count there where time just stood still, and they looked at each other in the weirdest position you've ever seen in your life, and then finally finished the move.
Gotta tell you, Vinny, this match was bad. You weren't wrong about this match being bad.
Still angry about it.
Well, let me talk about this next segment. I'll give you time to cool off. DX is outside CNN Center, and later they get inside. Now, I'm going to jump forward a little bit to explain the larger picture here. These guys are standing around, and they're quiet, and X-Pac is whispering, and he goes, they won't let us film because it's not public property. Then they finally get into the building, and they're just hanging around. They're not getting any trouble.
Still filming.
They're very polite.
Yeah.
They get some fans to do crotch chops. They're on their best behavior. So then a little later in the show, these fuckers come back to the arena, and they're just talking so much shit about this invasion. Oh, man, we invaded this place. They weren't there. We're running wild. These giant pussies. I'm just like, look at you idiots. You were there. It's documented. Yeah. You were so afraid of getting in trouble. X-Pac was like an 11-year-old whispering to the camera, they want us to film here. We could get in trouble. And then they go and they talk so much shit. And then later, like, Owen Hart's there and he's wrestling them. And I'm just baffled because I'd forgotten he turned heel. And then when I figured out it was a heel, I was like, is DX, are they heels or are they baby faces?
That's a fine question.
Because if they're baby faces, boy, did they get exposed here as just complete geeks. At least if they're heels, they were like saying one thing but doing another, and you could kind of make fun of them for that. This was so unbelievably lame. How is this remembered as such a groundbreaking, amazing segment? This fucking invasion of WCW headquarters and CNN Center. It was an embarrassment. Like, the geekiest geek on SmackDown would have refused to do this segment.
I defended the Norfolk Scope invasion angle. I'm not defending this.
I had forgotten all about this until it came on the screen. Oh, yeah, they did this twice in 2 weeks. This one was worse.
Yeah.
I was so embarrassed watching this. I was so embarrassed.
It was no good. We had another Edge vignette. He walked around at night as somebody read a poem about him being the end to all our dreams. Bradshaw was teaching Taka Michinoku how to be an American.
No, you're wrong, Vinny. He was teaching him how to drive.
Well, yes, I was going to say.
This 24-year-old grown man.
Yeah, had to be taught how to drive. Because apparently there are no cars in Japan.
No.
Apparently Toyotas are German.
If you can't speak this language.
Honda's from Brazil. I don't know.
If you're from another country you're small,
yeah,
you can't do anything.
No, you're incompetent.
He's going to have to potty train him on the next show.
I would not be surprised.
He took off his cowboy hat and was walloping Taka in the head with his cowboy hat, much like Gilligan did to Skipper. Or vice versa, excuse me.
Yeah.
It's dumb.
This was so stupid. Then Double J came out. This is like What's the reverse of Pavlov's dogs? Like, I hear a song, I just scream.
This was very bad.
This Double J theme song, I just ah!
Not gonna lie. But what a payoff.
Oh, really?
A horrible match and a DQ.
You know, I went to the dentist last week. Much better than this show. Much better. So we got Double J versus Farooq. Steve Blackman, who was in Farouk's corner because he hates Double J. So every once in a while, Farooq would take the ref and Blackman would interfere. Like a good heel that he's not.
Yeah. Advantage babyfaces in this match.
How did this company win the war?
Well, we're going to talk about Nitro, and you'll very clearly see.
Although, as they say in warfare, there are no winners, only survivors. This company did not win. So after plentiful interference, the nation runs out to make it a fair fight, so it's a DQ. At this point in my notes, I see here, I have begged for death.
Wow, that's pretty
somebody
serious.
kill me, I wrote.
Jeez.
Austin came out for a promo. He said Vince could pull any tricks with guest timekeepers or announcers or refs he wanted. He was never going to get the title back. He wanted Vince to come out and explain what was up with the match tonight. Instead, because Vince is evil, but he's not stupid, he appeared on the screen. He said, "We don't know who's going to be in the match." And they all did the see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil sign. And Austin said, "Whatever, I will just win the match and stick this belt up your ass." Because he's Steve Austin.
See, everything involving Steve Austin was awesome on this show.
I will concede that.
Yeah.
I will concede
And
that.
The Rock.
Well, it was one segment with both of them.
Now, what part of the burger is Steve Austin again?
Dude, he's the buns.
I see. The beginning and the end.
And the middle.
Okay.
Segment in the middle.
I see.
In a Val Venis compilation video, Sable came out to fight Marc Mero.
It was amazing is we watch all these shows and we were raving about that dudette, how hot she was.
She was cute.
She was very hot. Don't give me that cute bullshit, Craig. She was hot. Wearing a thong. They bring out Sable here, and they've dressed her in, like, I guess, boxing attire.
Sure.
This was the most unflattering outfit you could have put on Sable. Like, literally, when she came out dressed as a reindeer, I think she was hotter than what she wore here tonight. The top... Listen, boobs are great and all.
Mm-hmm.
It's just...
Here.
It was just preposterous. They look completely ridiculous on her. It's completely ridiculous, and
They're
not in a good way.
A little larger than they need to be.
And her shorts were all weird. It was just... And Lawler's there salivating.
He claimed that he was on Viagra.
Oh, got to talk about Viagra.
Okay. So how was it?
Did it work?
I bring it up because...
Yes, it did.
Lawler mentioned it here.
Yeah.
Roddy Piper mentioned on Nitro.
Yes.
Kevin Nash mentioned on Nitro.
It's true.
And I'm like, what the fuck's going on with Viagra?
It came out like that week.
Exactly. I Googled it. It had just been... I guess it was approved in March.
Mm-hmm.
It's May.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it had come out yet. Maybe it did. But the point is, that's why everybody was talking about it. But when we talk about it here in 2017, everybody's heard of Viagra.
Sure.
Right? In 1998, like 2 months after it got okayed, it must have still been so obscure because people kept making jokes. Like on Nitro, they're making these Viagra jokes and nobody is responding. Kevin Nash tried to say it 2 times to get a response.
Sure.
Nobody popped. Roddy Piper throws it out at the end of the show. Nobody reacted. That made me feel very, very old.
I once got one stuck in my throat and I had a stiff neck for a week.
Get out of here.
Brian, do you want to look up your
Go ahead,
rim
Vinny.
shot sound effect while we all wait?
No. My vomit sound effect.
Sable comes out to fight Marc Mero. Mero comes out. There's a ref there. They start circling the ring. Mero seems perfectly willing to punch and beat his wife.
This was so stupid. You know what this was, Vinny? This was bad.
It was horrible.
Okay? It was terrible.
I was just going to let it speak for itself.
No.
Would this be the onions or the pickles?
He lifts her up onto his shoulders.
No. Don't jump that. Sable, before they even make contact, she grabs a mic, says she can't believe Mero's going to let it go this far. She is stunned he's going to punch her and beat her here on national television. She's going to give it her best, though. And Mero says, "You're not weaseling your way out of this." And he grabs her in a fireman's carry.
Now stop right there. She's been training for 2 whole weeks now, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's been lifting weights.
Right.
She's been punching stuff.
Putting makeup on.
As
we saw in the
changing her outfits.
Yes.
Getting her hair
And
did.
she wants to fight this guy.
Right.
And she wants to end it. He lifts her up in the fireman's carry, and she goes, Marc, let me down. That's your plan?
Good plan.
That's your plan? Let me down?
I don't know.
You didn't think that maybe he'd hoist you up? You had no plan? And so he put her down.
He put her down, said he was a gentleman, so he did not knock her out.
Is that what it takes?
Now he wanted her to apologize for trying to ruin his career. So she kicked him in the balls. And then she grabbed him, and he powerbombed himself.
Yep.
It's pretty impressive, actually.
I mean, she helped, but he powerbombed himself.
That was the end of Mero's career right there.
Absolutely.
Sable left and Mero threw a tantrum, although I think it was inevitable.
You know, that was a bad segment. I won't lie.
Undertaker appears at ringside. How Undertaker got to ringside out of nowhere, I don't know. That's like the lights went out and suddenly he was there. He's just at ringside. He's menacing Jerry Lawler. Lawler is begging for mercy, saying Paul Bearer was the one who said terrible things about Taker's mother.
It's true.
Taker was they both did.
Well, he made a lot of funny jokes.
He thought it was great.
Yeah, he laughed.
So Taker beat his ass, hit him with a choke slam, goes for a tombstone when the lights go out and Kane appears. Paul Bearer vows to prove to the whole world that he's Kane's father.
And Jim Ross goes, how in the world is he going to do that? And I thought, if they didn't invent DNA paternity testing until 1998, I'm just going to kill myself. But in fact, it had been around for a long time.
Yeah.
So I don't know how Ross didn't know he's going to prove that.
So they leave, and Kane kills Lawler a second time and hits him with a tombstone.
This idiot Jerry Lawler. Even Kalisto knew to get out of there. Not Lawler. The lights go out. Paul Bearer cuts a long-ass promo. He just stayed in the ring. I'll just stay here, see what happens when the lights come back on. Maybe Taker will be in a better mood. Nope.
So with Lawler gone, out come Al Snow and Head at the announce desk. Snow goes off about how he can't get in trouble. He needs to see Vince. The buffest security guards you've ever seen arrive. It's a good thing Al didn't start anything. They'd have beat his ass. They chased him around for a while. He went in the ring, and he left. It sucked. So DX and their Jeep had their cannon pointed at the CNN building. This can't be legal.
I was going to say, how'd they get away with that?
Not today.
They did a special effect of them shooting the building and blowing it up.
You know, this is not meant to be a joke. It's just a reality. This world was very different before 9/11.
That's true. When was Oklahoma City?
Oh, that was 94.
Okay, so it was after that.
Yeah.
I guess it wasn't on TV.
Yeah, they had the worst effects of quote-unquote blowing up you've ever seen.
It was not a good effect, that's true. I don't think anyone actually believed that DX blew up CNN Center or whatever this building was.
This was like 8-bit Donkey Kong blow up.
So DX comes out for a promo. X-Pac says WCW had tried to have them arrested. Something about how Eric Bischoff refused to apologize, and I didn't know because I hadn't watched Nitro yet. He said he didn't kiss Vince's ass. He never kissed Eric's. That's why he didn't work there anymore. And everyone does their usual shtick. And out comes Owen Hart, who says he has unfinished business with Hunter.
I had totally forgotten this guy had turned heel.
And Hunter dares him to come fight. And Owen says, well, I'm going to come down and kick your ass.
Because he loves the word ass.
He does love the word ass, but it's like some guys, even though what they're saying is technically a correct thing to say to sound tough, they just can't pull it off. Owen saying, I'm coming down to kick your ass. I just laughed. And he was an ass kicker, by the way. He was a wrestler. But he just didn't come off like a tough guy. So we had Owen Hart versus DX with DX, or Owen Hart versus Hunter with DX.
It was really all of them.
And the Nation at ringside. All you need to know about this match is that at one point, Owen tried to tie Hunter in the ropes like Andre the Giant, but the ropes were too tight, and so they just gave up.
All you need to know about this match is, in 2017, you can have a Hell in a Cell match with no blood, but Owen Hart can bite Hunter's ear in a random spot in the match, and Hunter will gig his fucking ear.
Yes.
Dude.
Times have changed.
Lame DQ.
No, not even that. There was interference a lot, and then the two sides squared off, and then they just go to commercial. There was no bell. There was no announcement.
The official finish was a lame DQ. I guess they just didn't want to give us another one.
Do they pay for the bell by the ring?
What?
It's a rental, yes.
I don't know why. Maybe they thought...
Why did they not ring the bell?
We've had so many lame DQs. Instead of giving them a lame DQ, we'll just go to commercial and never mention it again.
That's not better.
Well...
That's significantly worse, in fact.
That's what they came up with.
Dustin Runnels comes out. He puts the Goldust gear into a trash can and lights it on fire.
So stupid. This is so Vince Russo.
This is about the 85th segment on the show.
Uh-huh.
Everyone's feuding with the boss.
Yeah, of course.
True.
Everyone's feuding with Vince. Dustin's mad at Vince for making him wear this gimmick for 3 years. He's got no dignity left because of Vince and his sick imagination. Lost his father and his wife and his daughter. He's blaming it all on Vince. Goldust is dead, he says, and Vince will never forget the name of Dustin.
Vince Russo secretly hates Vince McMahon.
Well, yeah, there's that too.
He secretly hates Vince.
Terry Funk and Scorpio versus Kai and Tai.
With their new name, Kai and Tai. No
Dude.
more Club Kamikaze.
This was not the Kai and Tai off the barely legal pay-per-view that I remember
Well,
so fondly.
maybe it was. They were wrestling Too Cold and Terry Funk. They tried very hard.
It was the same
I know it was the same.
with
but-
Funaki instead of Taka,
right.
I think. Is that right?
No. Well,
Taka was on that team at Barely Legal. Anyway, The point is, they come out here, no explanation for why they are no longer the Kamikaze Club or why they are Kai and Tai or what Kai and Tai means. Yamaguchi-san has a Kai and Tai flag he's waving, and he explains, calls the fans American scumbags, says this is a new Japanese generation with a Japanese attitude. You never know when or where they'll attack, and then, of course, the new heel Japanese faction attacks the people from behind. So, they're wrestling for a while. Scorpio made a comeback against all three dudes. I believe it was the first good wrestling on the show. It did make these small guys look like total geeks here in their official in-ring debut. Funk ran wild with spinning toe holds. And then Bradshaw and Michinoku attacked for the DQ and Kai
Excuse
ran
me,
away.
you ran wild with spinning toe holds?
That is a fact.
yeah.
It is a fact.
That is what happened.
Very funny.
It is.
There was at one point that Kai and Tai was just going nuts in the ring, and Terry Funk was on the outside holding the ring rope and just bewildered at what was going on in the ring.
I'm sure he was.
Dude, I was bewildered by this whole show.
So we had another cheap DQ, which I didn't track, but I think all of the matches were cheap DQs. Vince was seen backstage telling somebody they would be the most impressive partner Steve Austin ever had. Al Snow was still trying to get back in the building, and for the life of me, I don't know why. Had I been there for this show, I'd have been fighting like mad to get out of the building and never go back. The Nation came out. Here I wrote down, you assholes were just out here.
Dude.
Rock cut a promo about beating Steve Austin's ass.
Did you watch this show second?
No, watch it first.
That's astonishing.
I watched it first as well.
So the main event was Rock and D'Lo Brown versus Steve Austin and a mystery partner. And as you no
Hell
doubt,
of a match.
as you no doubt have all guessed, the mystery partner is Vince. I will say this match was awesome.
It
Yes.
was great.
Rock was awesome. Austin was awesome. D'Lo was awesome. Vince and Patterson and Briscoe were all awesome for what they were doing. They're having this great match. And even Vince standing on the apron, giggling and enjoying Austin getting beat up. It was great stuff. When Austin finally made a comeback and got a sleeper, Vince took the ref so the Nation could switch and cut him off. Finally, D'Lo misses the frog splash, and Austin crawls to the corner. Then he realizes what he's doing. He flips Vince off, makes his own comeback instead, kicking everyone's ass. And then he stuns D'Lo. He throws Rock out of the ring, and then Vince attacks him, and the Stooges attack him, and Dude Love attacks him. And for the second time in an hour, we had a match just end. No bell.
Not only did it
no
just end,
decision.
Dude Love hits the ring. And then Dustin
Yeah.
hits the ring.
Yeah, for what?
DX hit the ring. And then everybody's hitting the ring. And the show goes off the air. And the only good thing about this was it looked very exciting for a moment.
Oh, the crowd was losing their minds.
But when you think about it, what in the world was going on here?
Fair question.
So going back over the in-ring results, Vader beat Windham clean in a terrible match. We had an illegal switch pin in the DOA LOD match. We had a no decision in the... Oh, sorry. We had a DQ in Double J and Farooq. We had nothing for Sable and Marc Mero. We had no finish in Hunter and Owen. We had a DQ in Terry Funk and Scorpio versus Kai and Tai, and no finish in the main event.
Cool. Hey.
What a shit show.
It was still better than Nitro. Let's talk about Raw.
Retro Raw number 260, also May 18th, 1998.
You know, I got to open this up with something. Last week, we're talking about how Bischoff lost his mind. He challenged Vince McMahon to a match at the pay-per-view, and Jerry McDivitt sent him a legal letter. And Bischoff ended up reading the letter on Thunder and saying, if you are planning to pay your money to see this match happen at the pay-per-view, do not buy the pay-per-view. It's not going to happen. He's not going to be there. I promise you. So the WWE side argued, well, in wrestling, when you say a guy's not going to be there, that means he is. Now, a person in the real world would laugh at this. But let's talk about the beginning of this Raw show. For about the 95th time, Vince McMahon comes out and says you won't be seeing Steve Austin on the show here tonight. This time he claimed he's barred from the arena as a result of suffering a concussion. Well, you'll never guess who showed up at the building tonight. The more I think about it, Jerry McDivitt was right. That is exactly the way things go in wrestling, and I can see why Vince McMahon believed that. That's the way he booked. And literally, after saying he wasn't going to be here tonight, the very next thing we saw was Steve Austin trying to get into the building.
Well, yes, Vince came out for a promo and said Austin would not be there due to Vince's devastating clothesline. Did you mention that part?
No, where have you been?
Okay. So Ross is sure to point out Austin was doing house shows all week. Vince says if Austin seeks revenge, we'll just hurt him worse. When he announced Austin had been banned from the building, the celebration Patterson threw. He was so happy. Then, of course, Austin confronts the security guard trying to get in.
This poor guy.
Exactly. Wrong place, wrong time. He's just trying to do his job. Austin at first appreciates that. He says, I'm going to go back to my truck. I'm going to drink some beers. When I come back, we can do this the easy way or the hard way.
Yeah, he was polite. Just told Austin, hey, I'm just doing my job. Mm-hmm. Being a company man, Austin's going to go get drunk, come back and fight him.
Yes.
Hey, warn the guy.
He's doing his job, Brian.
Got kids to feed.
You know who else is doing their job? Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yes, but he was barred from the building, Brian.
It doesn't matter.
What a jerk.
So Vince brings out corporate dude love.
He was wrongfully barred.
Okay.
I'm on Austin's side here.
Dude talks about how great it will be for all of them when he wins the world title. Then Vince calls out Dustin Runnels. Comes out in a black shirt and shorts, fresh off knee surgery. And Vince, as Brian noted with that Dude Love promo a few weeks back, Vince cuts a promo that he himself has likely cut backstage, off camera, 1,000 times. You're blaming me for all your problems. It's not my fault you got a dysfunctional family. I'm the one who gives you opportunities. If you want to throw those opportunities away and burn the Goldust gear, that's your problem. But he said he's going to give Dustin one more opportunity. He could face Dude Love tonight, and if he won, he would take Dude's place against Austin at the pay-per-view.
And Dude just smiles. Cool. He's not worried about Dustin.
No. But if Dustin loses, then he has to work for free for 30 days. Dustin says the sooner the better. He sucker punches Dude. The Briscoes, I wrote here. That's not quite true. Briscoe and Patterson swarmed him and sent him packing. And they all got separated. Dustin walked to the back. Did we mention that Vince's pompadour here was a work of art?
It really is.
It always is.
By his own high standards, it was exceptional this evening.
I don't know who his hairdresser is, but she does a fine, fine job. Aquanet was at a premium then.
Let's see. We had Jerry Lawler.
Oh, jeez.
God, I forgot how stupid this was.
It was so stupid.
Okay, so Jerry Lawler last week gets punched by the Undertaker and then chokeslammed in Tombstone. He didn't like any of this. So he says, I need someone to protect me. But it must be a secret who this person who's protecting me is. Mm-hmm. So someone in a blue sheet.
Yeah. Not a fucking mask.
No.
He puts a blanket over his head.
Mm-hmm. Lawler brings someone in under a blue sheet out from under his car. brings him into the building. Security guy says, I have to make sure this is not Stone Cold Steve Austin, as if Steve Austin would ever hide under a blue sheet.
You know, in hindsight, it was probably a good idea because the reveal later, there's no way that man could have defended him against The Undertaker.
Well, that's another part of the stupid thing.
Right.
So they go inside the building, go to break, come back. Lawler has now lost the blue sheet, but he finds him on a pay phone and leads him away.
I got to think, Craig, he's got to find somebody who says, I will defend you from The Undertaker. And only one man is crazy enough to say, hey, I could defend you from The Undertaker. Al Snow. Oh, did I kill it?
Spoiler alert.
God
dude.
damn it.
You spoiled this 19-year-old show, Brian. Scorpio versus the debuting Val Venis.
Oh, they tried.
This was the tribute to 19 years later, Aleister Black debuting in NXT and going 50-50 with the mid-card geek. The only thing in this match that got any reaction was the women cheering for Val's hip swivel.
Over a man, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some
It was
suggestive
still
imagery.
his genitals swinging.
Okay.
And his abs rippling.
I like the part where Val jumps off the top rope and Scorpio puts his foot up and the foot comes nowhere close to Val.
Or even farther from Al.
Really. And he sells it anyway.
Yeah.
Not even close.
I like that they put Val Venis with Too Cold Scorpio. That had to be a rib.
I had to go 8 minutes.
Because of their
Because
lines.
of Too Cold's legit package.
Right.
And Val's gimmick package.
That's true. I
Never thought of that, did you?
I'll admit I was not thinking about Scorpio's package. But yes.
I wasn't thinking about it, but I thought about it.
Oh, that's very different.
It actually is.
Well, while we're talking about packages, Val won with a money shot.
He did. Val looked tired there at the end. I mean, it was a good match, but
It was not the best way to make a guy in
is it
one night.
that hard to just have a guy come out and smash some people for a few weeks before he has a competitive
It's not
match?
like
It is.
It's not like we had seen clips of him destroying guys in training
No, he
or
was
lifting weights.
on a set.
Yeah.
Then he comes out, and this is the whole key. He went 50-50 with Too Cold Scorpio.
Right.
Yes.
Not Mick Foley or Stone Cold Steve Austin or an actual top star.
mid-card
You
guy.
slotted him immediately. And I realized that on paper, if you get a guy and you go, you know what, it's your debut, go tear the house down with Too Cold. Have a great 5-minute match. That sounds great on paper, but you know what? It's the guy's first night in, and he's got to make an impact. And, like, tell me the crowd didn't die by the end of this. When he came out, they were hot. They were cheering. They were screaming. The women were catcalling. 4 minutes in, they were dead. Because this is not what this match should have been.
Austin, beer in hand, tried to get into the building. The security guard tried to do his job and keep him out. So Austin politely explained the man had chosen the hard way and then threw him into a wall and kicked his ass. He got on the guy's walkie-talkie, called for medical assistance. So at least he had some thought, some concern for the man's future well-being. Then he stormed inside and went to break. They came back. He came out for a promo, Austin did. Very popular here. Also very angry.
This crowd. They were hot all night. Except
Except for the end of that Val Venis match, God damn it.
He demanded Vince and company come out to settle things right now, or he would start destroying $50,000 cameras. So Vince and his crew show up at the top of the ramp. Austin says, I want to fight all three of you at once.
Vince is aghast.
He is, but then Vince, like Hogan, is raring to fight, but Briscoe has to hold him back.
Yes.
Then Vince says, we are too well dressed to fight. Patterson and Briscoe had a chance to cut promos on Austin. Austin laughed this off. Then Vince says, look, we can't fight you 3-on-1. That wouldn't be fair. So we'll do 2-on-1.
Sure.
But we're not going to tell you which two. So it's a handicap street fight in the main event. Austin, of course, was fine with this.
Austin standing in the ring. He's a big, jacked up badass. The coolest guy on the roster. And on the ramp, there's just 3 geeks.
Senior citizen geeks.
It's so different from 2017 where Hunter's got to be 5 levels above even the biggest star.
Yeah.
Stephanie's above even him. Like, nobody can touch them. Nobody can question them. Nobody can humiliate them. Once a year, Stephanie takes an accidental bump, and everyone's like, oh, she got her just desserts. Give me a break. Vince McMahon was such a laughingstock.
Yes.
He surrounded himself with the biggest numbskulls. We haven't even mentioned later. My other favorite numbskull, Sergeant Slaughter, comes out.
Yes.
Just a bunch of bumbling idiots who are there to be comedy foils for the superstar. That's why this worked.
Yes.
Every once in a great while, they do something and get some heat on Austin. Very briefly. And then he'd humiliate them left and right, left and right. That's why people came home from work. They wanted to see the boss get humiliated every night. They didn't want to see the boss humiliate the worker every night and then once a year slip on a banana peel and fall down. No one wants to see that.
No.
Why is this so hard to figure out? They fucking did it themselves. Right?
Yeah.
I was there, yeah.
It's not like this took place in Japan.
No.
It was in their own company.
That's what makes the best heels is when they're bumbling idiots. They
Yes.
bonk into each other. They fall down.
Yes.
The best.
No one could cheer for Vince and his crew in this feud. It was impossible.
It was impossible.
There was nothing likable or respectable about them.
And they accentuated that.
Yes. He had an Edge vignette, walking around Brooklyn, randomly screaming, running at the camera. They did finally name him Edge here. Lawler's blue sheet was in the makeup chair.
God.
Lawler said, "You don't need makeup to offer me protection."
He's not right. He's not wrong.
Is that hard to fill up 2 hours? Criminies. They have 3 hours.
Let's not
now.
gloss over this. There's a man covered in a blue sheet in the makeup chair.
Right.
And the woman's like lifting the sheet to put makeup on his face.
Yes.
All right.
Wacky.
Sable comes out for a promo. Calls out Marc Mero. Sable says it is time for us to come to an amicable separation. Mero says 2 years ago, she had signed a contract saying, I believe he said that she had to work for him forever or he would sue her.
Basically, yeah. He had a contract. It did not specify the length.
Or really even the terms.
But it was a white piece of paper, and in size 72 font,
Yes.
it said contract.
I see.
And then it had a lot of little words. And then in size 72 font, it said Sable. And then it had a bunch of little words.
Right.
And then in size 72 font, it said Marc Mero.
Correct.
Uh-huh.
Not a marriage license. A contract.
It was a piece of paper.
So he ordered her to the corner. So we got Marc Mero versus Terry Funk, and I'm still trying to make sense of this Mero thing.
Now listen, I don't know if this is what Terry Funk was thinking, but when we watched it last week, we all concluded this was the end of this guy's career. Sable lifted him up and powerbombed him and left him laying like a geek.
Right.
Well, Terry Funk must have watched this because he takes Mero's finisher, the TKO. Sable immediately distracts Mero, and Terry Funk doesn't need... And Terry Funk, of all people,
Yes.
there's no man on this planet that sells more than Terry Funk. Terry Funk sat up, stood up, walked over, turned the guy around, DDT'd him, and pinned him.
Correct.
He was like, get me the fuck away from this guy and out of this match. This is humiliating.
All happened. So by this contract, Mero, if Sable tries to leave, Mero will sue her and take all her money.
Right.
Every cent that she made working for him, he can rescind if she
Now,
breaks the contract.
If they weren't they legally married in storyline?
I think so.
So isn't he entitled to half her stuff anyway?
Sure.
This contract seems redundant to me.
Well,
Absolutely.
you know...
I guess if they're getting divorced in storyline.
See, they would split it 50-50 if there was a prenup. But this contract allows him to take 100% of her earnings.
Aha!
Which is more than 50%.
It is.
By my calculations.
It's approximately twice as much.
Really?
Yeah.
And she probably made more money than he did.
That's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Especially after 1998. Let's see. The beat-up security guard and his pals were looking for Austin. Then after the break, security approached Lawler and the Blue Sheet, who were trying to buy a soda at a vending machine. They confirmed this was not Steve Austin, and they left. LOD 2000 versus DOA.
Oh, boy.
They actually showed a replay of that small package last week. Yep. Can you believe it? I mean, I can. I watched the Rolls Royce giveaway, but holy fuck. This match was so bad that Jim Ross, usually when a match is bad, Jim Ross will say it's bowling shoe ugly.
Right.
This week, he actually said, Legion of Doom appears to be disoriented. What?
Well, he's probably half right.
You know, I'm just going to go ahead and read my whole notes here. DOA was Chains and a Harris. Match was awful. I like when they did a ref distraction for no reason. No mistag, no illegal switch, no visual pin, nothing. So I started out shitty and then went way downhill. Animal hit a powerbomb and made a cover and then just got up. Then both Warriors went for a pin at the same time. Mm-hmm. There was all kinds of bullshit. The other Harris came in and hit a roll-up, and the ref's back was turned, so Animal had to get pinned for like 8 seconds here.
The other Harris twin came in from the crowd. He wasn't out there at ringside. He came in from the crowd and did the old switcheroo, and then they left, and there was 3 of them.
Now there's 3 of them.
Walking up the ramp, and the ref thought nothing of this.
So they lost, and then LOD demanded a 6-man tag, saying they already had a partner in mind. We watched those retro NWA shows. I know it's 11 years later, so it's a long time. It's a couple generations in pro wrestling terms. But my God, the fall of the Legion of Doom in those 10 years, from guys who win in 30 seconds every week to guys who lose every week.
These are not the Road Warriors from my youth.
No, this is the LOD 2000. Completely different. And this is about as bad as pro wrestling can get. We had footage of Paul Bearer and Kane getting what they called complicated DNA testing.
Now, Kane was wearing...
Fucking look like these computers from 1968.
Univac in the background.
Kane was wearing a mask, but it wasn't his mask.
It was just
a ski mask.
Yeah, it was just like a scarf wrapped around his head. Yes. To go with, by the way, his very 90s black and teal tracksuit. Mostly purple and black. Back in the arena, Lawler and Blue Sheet came down to ringside. The best moment for Jim Ross in 1998 is when he says he just says what's happening with a straight face looking into the camera as deadpan as possible. A grown man wearing a crown is bringing his friend covered in a blue sheet to ringside on national television. Just said it. Just let it speak for itself.
Well, that's what happened.
So Jerry Lawler says, I have brought in this man to protect me from the Undertaker. And as Brian spoiled earlier, it was in fact Al Snow.
Poor planning.
I'm sure the wrestling world is appalled that I spoiled this surprise.
I was so pleading we'd actually get an Undertaker Al Snow confrontation. But no. So Al immediately says Lawler had promised him a meeting with Vince. He wanted it now, and they left. What a terrible fucking show this is. And we never had an answer. Why was he under a fucking sheet?
They never had a stare down. There was no confrontation. The Undertaker was in the building.
No one said, oh my God, it's Al Snow.
It's almost like this show's like a Big Mac.
Do you want
right?
Do you want to explain it again, Brian?
No. But it's very clear that Vince doesn't care about anything but the buns.
I'll say.
Dude Love versus Dustin Runnels.
Dustin's out there with F-U on his shirt.
What did it say on the back?
It said F-U on the front and Forever Unchained on the back.
Right. I'm like, how...
I bet that WCW pay-per-view had more buys than this shirt.
Dude, I'm positive. I'm positive. I bet that thong I sold with your face on it sold more copies than this
one can only hope.
shirt.
So Briscoe distracts Dustin. Dude hooks the mandible claw for the win.
Dude.
Really not much of a match, I wrote.
I thought, for fuck's sake, like, you got a pay-per-view. You got a pay-per-view on Sunday where it's Mick Foley versus Steve Austin, and you've got the Stooges and Vince out there as referees and timekeepers. Could you not, like, get them involved in this same match and they help Mick Foley win, so you think, God damn, they're going to beat Steve Austin on Sunday. Mm-hmm. Instead, Vince ain't even there. Patterson doesn't do jack shit. Briscoe does a mild distraction, and Foley just beats the guy. It's like, wow, cool.
So Dustin is running in place right now.
And then, I love this, Jim Ross says, well, Goldust needs to work for free for the next 30 days and pay his own expenses. I thought they always pay their own expenses.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. But the
But in
fans,
storyline, that sucks.
the fans at home may not realize that.
In real life, they do it. In storyline, it's a punishment.
Well, no.
No, he's
Yeah.
he's paying to work.
He's explaining to the fans these guys pay their own expenses all the time.
No, that's not what he said. He was making it out like this guy for the next 30 days, he's working for free and paying his own expenses. Austin's watching the show on a monitor backstage. I see what you're trying to say. That's not how it was.
Austin's watching the show on a monitor backstage when the cops show up to arrest him. They go to break. When they come back, Austin's in cuffs. Now that Austin is in cuffs, here's Vince McMahon to scream at him and berate him. I banned you for your own protection, but you had to come in. You had to beat people up, and now I'm pissed off because I don't get a chance to beat you up myself. Headbangers versus Kaientai. With Jerry Lawler on commentary, Al Snow is now in the crowd, still demanding a meeting with Vince. It was Dick Togo and Men's Teo wrestling. They did what they could. They were literally wrestling themselves at some points. They were triple teaming somebody when Bradshaw and Taka came out and chased them away. The bell rang, so somebody was DQ'd. I don't know who.
There's a point where Thrasher whipped in Terry Boy, and I think they both tried the leapfrog at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you see, Thrasher is like 3 feet taller than Terry Boy, and so it looked like he gave him a knee to the face. They just ran into each other.
Yeah.
And these guys, God bless them, Kai and Tai, look like little people out there with the headbangers.
They look like little people with everybody.
I was legit surprised they were not just booked as a 3-on-2 tag team all the time.
Yeah.
I fully expected this to be a handicap match against the Headbangers. It was not. But they're feuding with two guys because one of them is big. Let's see. Austin was in the backseat of the cop car as Vince talked to the cops. Back at the complicated DNA testing, have we ever mentioned how great Paul Bearer was in this show?
Did they have to
Not yet.
stick a goddamn needle in his arm on national television? Did I have to see that?
Yes.
They couldn't fake stick a needle in his arm?
Because it led to the great moment of him screaming and crying like a child at the horror of a simple blood draw.
He's right.
He's not.
Sucks. Get out of here, Vinny. Get out of here. I'm going to stab you with a needle. Give me a needle,
I'll
Craig.
let Craig do it.
Give me a needle. Why don't you let Craig do it?
I'll let you do it.
Oh, man. Go for it.
Anyway.
Craig, bring a needle. He gave you permission.
Anyway.
I'll get one from downtown Seattle.
The point is, Paul Bearer, like a weakling and a coward, is afraid of this needle. But then after the moment, when it's all done, he's so happy. He's going to prove Kane's his son. Mm-hmm. It was all worth it in the end. DX comes out for a promo.
Oh, jeez.
I don't know what happened or what their goal was, but their material died a death.
Speaking of material.
What are you talking about? The fans sang along for everything.
Speaking of material, did you
Am I
see...
mentioning things?
Let Craig finish.
Speaking of material, as I'm almost out of it now, did you see Billy Gunn's tights, quote unquote?
Were they sheer?
We're cutting away for a talk about his clothes.
No. He had legit Daisy Dukes on.
Oh, yeah.
They were black pants that had been cut into short shorts.
Okay.
It shocks you that Mr. Ass would wear sexually suggestive gear?
What was the matter with his tights?
It didn't show enough of his ass.
He's Mr. Ass. It's Degeneration
These were
X.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yes.
They stroked sausages on national television.
His name is Mr. Ass.
They shot a cannon with a whiff of smoke. This is the least of our problems. Now, were they not singing along? Can we get back to this?
They sang along to Road Dogg's catchphrase, but then when he started his material and telling jokes,
Well, that sucked.
he makes a Judas Priest reference. It dies a death. He makes another joke. It dies a death.
Then they blame the fans.
He turns to Hunter and just says, that went right over their heads. And not like it was an aside. He said this into the mic, and Hunter laughs and says, it really did.
Judas Priest is a band, by the way, Brian.
No shit, Craig.
Yeah, Rob Halford's
How
the lead
stupid
singer.
do I look?
Got another thing coming.
So, anyway, this promo was,
I know all the classics.
Yeah.
this
What else they
promo
do?
was going so bad that Billy grabbed the mic and they just started playing the Nation's music. And just end this. Just don't let him go any farther. So the Nation comes out, and everyone brawls for a while, and they go to break. They come back. It's the New Age Outlaws versus Rock and Owen Hart. Pretty good match. I think it was the first time the Outlaws worked babyface on TV. Could
The
be
Road Dogg and The Rock work great together.
Owen was trying to get over the biting gimmick. So he goes after Road Dogg's ear, and they both come up bloody.
This gimmick sucks.
It does.
Last week you said that Hunter gigged his ear.
Yeah.
So did...
I don't know, I presume.
I'm pretty sure it was just like one of the packets that you bite down on and mouth gets bloody and the ear gets bloody,
It's the Attitude Era, dude. It's a blade or nothing.
Probably a bullet.
He had a blade in his teeth.
I did not see Road Dogg gig his ear. That's what I'm saying. Nor did I see Hunter gig his ear.
Well, did you see someone bite a blood packet?
Well, of course not, Brian.
See? So it was a blade.
Wow, you're in a mood tonight.
What are you talking about? I'm in a great mood. Let's talk about the No Dominator.
So Rock hits the rock bottom. The ref is distracted. Farooq runs out, and he grabs Rock, and yes, he hits a pile driver.
Yeah, because Rock probably said, I'm not taking that fucking Dominator anymore. That move sucks on this ring, and it hurts my legs. So don't do it anymore.
I trust Farooq to hit a pile driver and not kill me.
Yeah, and he did. It was a great pile driver.
And it was great.
Rock's not an idiot.
No, that's been proven clear repeatedly. They put Rhodey on top for the win. So apparently the cops made a deal with Austin where they would release him if he apologized to the guy he beat up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they released him, and he said, "I'm sorry you're so stupid," and he left.
Yep.
And the cops said, "Oh well."
Yes. And you're mad at me?
Soft on crime here in Rhode Island. Where were they?
I took this as the guy not pressing charges against him.
Okay.
Maybe,
But then
No.
I might have read it wrong.
But didn't he get
I
his
think
apology?
the cops
He
were
did
lazy.
Press him anyway?
They're like, apologize to this fucking guy, we won't book you.
Mark Cops?
Plus, we'll get some autographs.
I've heard that's a thing. Kevin Kelly interviewed Dr. Charles Woosley in the ring.
Woosley. Hold on, Woosley.
He asked if Paul Bearer was Kane's father. And Dr. Charles, you've never seen a man use so many words and so many breaths to say yes. So Paul Bearer is Kane's dad. Daddy and Junior come out. Paul Bearer is the happiest man alive. Do you know why? He's happy not because he has a big, powerful son who's going to make him a lot of money. Not because because he's been proven right. But more importantly, this proves that the Undertaker's mother was a 2-bit whore.
That's what he said.
Now, if Paul Bearer and Undertaker and Kane were doing the same angle in 2017, Bearer would have said this to Taker's face, and Taker would have had to smile and nod. Oh, you're so clever, Mr. Bearer. Oh, that's a great line there, calling my mother a 2-bit whore.
They never would have said 2-bit whore in 2017.
You're right. He would have found something else to insult her. But the point is, Taker would have taken this insult, and that's it. Because in 2017, there's no such thing as fighting words. In 1998, calling the Undertaker's mother a 2-bit whore is fighting fucking words. And the dead man sprints down a ring.
He hit the goddamn ring so fast, the camera couldn't keep up with him.
Correct. You saw the camera start at the stage and pan to the right, but you never saw Taker because he was 18 steps ahead.
By the way, calling your mother a 2-bit whore in 2017, also offensive.
Yes.
On Raw.
Just saying.
In Raw, though, you just stand there and take it. You're only allowed to smile and nod.
He would say she was easy.
I guess. So Taker hits the ring, destroys both men, hits a huge chokeslam on Kane. Kane got way up there for that one. But then he turns to attack Paul, and Kane recovers and chokeslams him. Vader runs out, starts brawling with Kane. It's awesome, because Taker recovers. He looks at Vader and Kane brawling for a split second and decides, you know what? I just hate them both. I'm going to go after Paul instead. And he chases Paul to the back. This is great. This was great.
Let's not gloss over this. Paul puts the boots. Paul is putting the boots to the Undertaker. It's always great when Paul puts the boots to somebody. He puts 3 boots to him, and then he's fucking so blown up. He collapses, and he rolls out of the ring. He can barely stand. He's gasping for air. And now, Undertaker's angry at him. So Paul Bearer has to, completely blown up, run all the way up the ramp, and the Undertaker has to do the famous slow run where he is also running, but he can't catch Paul Bearer.
Yes.
That was beautiful.
So we had the main event.
On paper, this looked like it was going to be horrible.
No, it didn't. Pat
Are you
Patterson?
kidding me?
Are you kidding me, Pat Patterson? He's a legend.
Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe versus Steve Austin. Ross is sure to plug the Briscoe Brothers Body Shop, and also was sure to mention that Pat Patterson had done some rear end work too. I laughed.
Comedy.
Sergeant Slaughter was the surprise special ref.
But a bunch of nincompoops.
They had a guy, and I'll be honest, this fooled me. They go to a shot of Al Snow in the crowd, standing next to a guy in a cheap Steve Austin mask, jumping and screaming and going insane, and Al's looking at this guy like he was crazy. Mm-hmm. Just everyone remember that. So you had the two old men blatantly double-teaming Austin, using foreign objects all over the place.
Pat Patterson was on fire in this match. He vaulted over the top rope to get in the ring. He's running wild. He did a flip bump into the corner. Mm-hmm. He ran up to the top rope. If you want to see a dude sell getting crotched on the top rope,
yes,
go back to this Raw and watch Pat Patterson when he got crotched on the top rope. He was fucking great in this match.
So Austin cuts them off, whips their asses anyway, stuns them both.
Place is going out of their minds.
Sarge tries the Cobra Clutch. He gets stunned as well. Dude Love runs out. Austin whips his ass too.
Briscoe, by the way, took his stunner and did a front flip. I had not ever seen that bump before.
And suddenly the fan in the Austin mask jumps dude on the floor. But Austin turns his back, and then the fan whacks him with a chair. And he pulls off his head, much like Glacier's head was kicked off. And it's Vince McMahon in the Austin mask. And until he got up the guardrail, I thought it was just a lunatic fan. So Austin no-sold this chair shot because it's Vince.
Right.
And he goes after him, but dude grabs him from behind, puts him out with a mandible claw. Now, the match with no finish drives me nuts. Now, I guess there was no ref because the ref was dead. No one could call for the bell. But the match, the show just ends with Austin in the mandible claw. And this was the go-home show, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So
I'm not sure. I thought they said it was the end of May.
Is there one more week?
I could have sworn they said it was like May 31st or something like that.
Oh, I apologize.
All right. We got one more show. So then we get 2 minutes of extra Raw.
Extra attitude.
Extra attitude. Excuse me. Extra attitude. So Vince meets with his troops, makes sure they're still alive. They celebrate in the ring. Austin recovers, goes after Vince.
Yeah, May 31st.
Vince escapes. Austin chases him to the back. That was pointless.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, it was extra.
I guess I didn't pay for it.
I thought the show was pretty great, aside from the stuff that sucked. It was way better than Nitro. The Steve Austin stuff was great.
Everything on the show without Steve Austin is terrible.
Every single one of the Stooges took a fabulous stunner. Vince is great. It was awesome. That's the show.
That's our show.
No, I got a song. This is to celebrate the special guest of honor, as Ed is calling him, at the 2017 convention in Vegas in August. This man is coming. I'm making this up. My buddy Wang. So you'll never guess what he shows up in last night. I'm not making this up. Purple rash card. With no sleeves, by the way, to show off the guns. Wow. I'm not making this up. I'm just like, what are you wearing? Wang's all flustered. He just kind of blurts out, well, I didn't think anyone was going to be here today. I thought it would be only Brian. So now he'll never live this down. Purple Wang all night long. My buddy Wang. Poor Wang. Purple Wang all night long. My buddy Wang. Poor Wang. It's a sign of affluence all night long. My buddy Wang. Poor Wang. Purple Wang all night long. My buddy Wang. Poor Wang.
Purple Wang, you say?
Yeah, all night. I choked that Purple Wang so many times. He's the most amazing dude. All right, why don't you put that thing away there, Craig? Let's be professional. Let's move on. He claimed he has a buddy that sent it to him. I was like, oh yeah? Your buddy's got a sense of humor, I see.
Show this
Fact! It's just a fact! No good! That's where I look, Purple Wang.
Flopping out of the mat?
Yep.
Oh, God. We need ways to cheer Vinny up.
Yeah, don't think about Purple Wang and then spew that water everywhere. You chose the purple one? Not making this up. He's the most amazing dude. Why don't you turn the vibrator off? Can you put it on his vagina?
Wow.
I apologize.
What?
Buddy. Sure. Vinny does not take any guff. Yes.
Until then, we got a hell of a show!
Purple Wang all night long. My buddy Wang. Purple Wang. Purple Wang all night long. My buddy Wang. Poor Wang. So preposterous. Purple Wang all night long. My buddy Wang. Poor Wang. Purple Wang all night long. My buddy Wang. Poor Wang.
And they had to take refuge.
Lee is running full force to the back bedroom, scared because the cat
That has to be the greatest song we've ever.
Wang's
on
going to
the show.
Vegas.
Yeah, Wang's going to Vegas.
Are you rooming together?
Hell no, are you fucking kidding me? You've got to be kidding. I'm not even telling him what hotel I'm at. It's top secret.
Okay.
It's DTW. Don't tell Wang.
Monday Night Raw, episode 261, May 25th, 1998. Vince and the Stooges come out for a promo. They are flanked by 3 cops, and these cops were scared to death to be on television. Just in their body language, I figured they had about 10 minutes to live, and Austin was going to come out and kill them all.
They look like they may be real cops.
They must have been.
They weren't the usual buff dudes with
No.
terrible haircuts. They were skinny guys with horrible mustaches.
So they were afraid to be on camera.
One of them went to go stand right, dead center, hard camera, and Patterson had to tell him to move. So Vince gives this speech. He says, last week it was great watching Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe and Sergeant Slaughter watch them all teach Steve Austin a lesson. But at the end of the day, there's only one man, Vince McMahon, who took Austin out. I was the one who attacked Austin with a chair. I assaulted Austin, he said. He talked about how they would all be there. He and all his cronies would be there to take part on Sunday when Austin lost the WWF title. He says, thank you very much. And he goes to leave. Steve Austin comes out. And
Now, before we get to Steve Austin, Vince shows the footage of him coming out of the crowd with the Steve Austin mask on. And he said, you would have never known this fan in a Steve Austin mask. I was like, of course you knew. The first thing you did was fall down and then start strutting.
It's true.
I mean, that was totally Vince McMahon.
surprised he didn't tear his quad.
He fell on his ass, clotheslining Mick Foley.
Yes.
Like, all he had to do was hit him with his arm, and he fell down.
Yes.
Nearly killed himself.
He's not an athlete.
They decided he needed to be a wrestler.
Yes. So Steve Austin comes out, and it is my job here as a professional retro wrestling show reviewer to let you, the audience, know that Steve Austin was popular in 1998. Boy, they liked him.
I write that
They
down.
liked him a lot. He's having a grand old time. He says that Vince is the world's dumbest son of a bitch. Points out Vince, standing before policemen, just came out in front of the whole world and bragged about assaulting Steve Austin last week, and Austin wants to press charges. So the cops say, well, gee, he's right. And they swarm in to put Vince in handcuffs. Vince has an all-time great freakout. He was so awesome, screaming and crying as they put handcuffs on him.
And this wasn't his best performance of the night.
May not have been, no. So Briscoe and Patterson start standing up for Vince and shoving cops, to which Austin says, hey, that's obstruction of justice. And the cops say, you know what, you got a point. And they put the cuffs on Briscoe and Patterson too. And everything's going fine. And then Steve Austin, after everyone's handcuffed, he's having a great time. He kicks Vince McMahon in the gut and then pours beer on him.
Yeah, that's an offense.
I'm not an officer of the law, but I'm pretty sure you can't do that.
Well, you know, there were 3 officers of the law there, and they allowed it, so I guess you can do it, Vinny.
Where were they, Ohio or somewhere?
They were somewhere.
Tennessee.
Tennessee. Maybe it's ask Carl. He's from the South. DOA versus LOD.
No, hold on. We got to talk more about this segment.
Right.
I don't want to harp on things. It's not my job to be a harper. But you know how many times I've said, no one ever gets their comeuppance on Stephanie.
Right.
And every time I bring this up, some numbskull has to go, Brian, don't you remember at WrestleMania 2 years ago when she accidentally got speared by Roman Reigns? And then some other numbskull will say, hey, don't you remember this year at WrestleMania when she accidentally got knocked off the apron and fell through a table? Listen, you numbskulls. Vince McMahon got humiliated every single week. On this show, he gets humiliated twice on the same show. Over and over and over and over and over again. Now, I'm sure if you asked Stephanie McMahon or Triple H, they would say, well, you know, today's audience, you can't give it to them every week, or they don't appreciate it. You've got to build it up over time. Well, you know what? It was pretty goddamn hot in the mid-90s, and they did it every week. And it doesn't seem to me like Steve Austin is getting less popular or people are less excited to see Vince McMahon beat up.
Quite
They're
the
more
opposite.
excited every week. The more he gets beat up, the better. Because it's fun to see the bad guys get beat up and made to look like idiots. It's way more fun watching that than to watch your heroes get beat up and made to look like idiots. I know this is a difficult concept at a time when Raw is doing under 3 fucking million viewers. But back then, when there were like 11 million people watching Raw between these two fucking shows. It sure was working then. I'll have more to say about this later, but I need to calm down. Which will be easy with this LOD match involving Puke. Where the fuck did Puke come from?
So his debut.
The back. That's it.
That's it. I thought I watched the wrong show. Is everyone going to have to cough at the same fucking time now?
We had a heat wave in Seattle for a day and a half, and in this first heat wave of the year, I managed to catch a cold.
Oh, my God.
So, yes, DOA versus LOD 2000 and a mystery partner, and Hawk says, here is our mystery partner, Puke.
That's what he said. I hate this show.
Walks there and
sucks.
draws it off. This is not the best intro I've ever seen for a guy.
No.
Zero build. His name is Puke. A large, raggedy-looking fella comes out, attempts to yak on a motorcycle.
Failed.
So they're doing this match. Darren Drozdov at this point, his first TV match. Very big, very athletic. No idea what he was doing. Barely in control. It broke it into a 6-way, and Puke pinned Chains with a 3-point stance and the sit-out powerbomb.
Yippee.
And the reason they called him Puke is because he's a former football player. And as he lined up at the line of scrimmage, he threw up.
On Monday Night Football.
And it went through his face mask and kind of...
Like all over the ball and stuff.
Yeah. It was bad.
Yeah.
And so Vince McMahon saw this and goes, I got an idea.
Have we all seen Beyond the Mat?
Yeah.
Yeah. Vince loves vomit, apparently.
I guess.
He's very excited about a man who can vomit on command. I don't know what to tell you. He's Vince. Backstage, Austin, who apparently has superiority over these cops and can give orders.
He is the victim.
He's
They are officers
opening the
of
door, holding the door,
law.
pushing them into the car. So they push Vince, Patterson, and Briscoe into the car. The highlight is as Patterson's being pushed into the car, he says, Steve, can you please just let me off? When all else fails, polite decency.
As much as I love this segment, I love the idea that you can assault a man repeatedly on national television, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But if you admit that the assault was an assault,
Yeah.
you got to go to jail.
It doesn't make much sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
It's very illogical.
If they explain to me that Austin paid off these cops, I'd believe it.
Yeah.
They're big Steve Austin marks. And he said, listen, I got something really funny to do. You're going to pretend you're going to arrest Vince. We're going to make this fucker grovel and then let him off. And I'll give him another beating later. And they went, yeah, I hate that guy.
They cut to a section of the crowd way, way up in the building. So high there's no light up there. It may have been in space. And a shadowy figure got up and left. And at the time, I was bewildered and confused. Was this just the cameraman fall asleep and accidentally zoom in somewhere and just a fan got up and left? No, this was supposed to happen. They just shot it so badly they had to do it again later.
Well, who was it?
It was Al Snow.
Oh,
I thought you were the spoiler.
god damn.
Something about Al Snow must get spoiled every week.
Oh, no.
It's not a spoiler. It's a warning.
That's true.
It's a warning. Al Snow is coming, everyone. Brace yourselves. Owen Hart versus Dan Severn.
All I know is that in 2017, I saw Matt Riddle have a better match with Dan Severn than Owen Hart did in 1998.
That's true.
That blows my mind.
All I know is Severn caught a kick and then grabbed Owen by the throat and hit a giant chokeslam. That may have been 100% Dan Severn on that one. And then later, Owen kicked him right in the balls. The ref didn't care. And Severn gets an armbar. The Nation attacks with a DQ. A lot of DQs in the Monday Night Wars. They go to Pillmanize his leg like they had done to Ken Shamrock, but refs came down and broke all that up.
And Commissioner Slaughter had to make sure that he made his money this evening.
I guess so.
On paper, this looked like it would have been good, but
did?
it wasn't. I thought
What
so.
paper?
The one that I typed out for this.
Am I wrong,
Wrestling
Vinny?
Thoughts Weekly.
I guess so.
I'm
Did you have a
serious.
newsletter back then?
Okay.
Am I wrong, Vinny? Even Vinny was laughing. Dan Severn and Owen Hart?
Why would this be bad?
Why would it be good? Am I wrong here? I love Dan Severn. He wasn't very good. He just did like a bunch of suplexes. And Owen did comedy matches and was a terrible babyface. Even though I guess he was a heel here.
Anyway,
I'll tell you what didn't look good on paper and wasn't good in execution.
Well, I see where you're going with this. Vince and the Stooges throwing tantrum in the back of the cop car. And then the Edge vignette. We get it. He's angry. He can debut now. It's time. Although I will say,
dude, I don't know. We have to watch this for 5 weeks and then Puke just shows up.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. But it does also, it points out the war gets close and WCW says, let's go back to the old guys. And they book a main event for a pay-per-view of Hogan, Hart, Piper, and Savage. Meanwhile, WWF says, we'll ride our hot star Steve Austin. Meanwhile, let's also bring in a bunch of fresh new talent and see what works. Let's bring in Val Venis. Let's bring in Edge. Let's bring in Puke.
Let's not forget that time where they brought in Garbage Men and Skinner.
Doesn't always work.
They're always
But they
trying
try
to
new
bring in
things.
new people.
Yes.
I mean, DOA was new at one point.
They must have been.
And you know who else was new? Cyrus and his fucking crew.
Well, here we go. I had forgotten Jackal was still employed by this company at this point. He brings out Howard Stern regulars, Hank the Angry Drunken Dwarf, and Crackhead Bob.
Do you know why they did this?
To get plugs on the Howard Stern show?
They had just done the People magazine Most Beautiful Person in the World online poll. For those of you that are youngsters right now, let me explain something to you. Back in 1998, when the internet was a little bit new, these people hadn't figured out that a bunch of geeks could get on the internet and vote and fuck up your plans.
That never happens anymore.
No, it happens now, but I think everyone accepts it now. But back then it was new. So Time Magazine ran this poll where you do the most beautiful person in the world. But you can write in your vote. So 250,000 people wrote in Hank the Angry Drunken Dwarf. And he won. He won the poll. It just came out. I guess Vince Russo probably saw it and said, damn it, I got a great idea. I can't do my Russo accent.
That's your McMahon accent.
That's my McMahon accent. Hey, he decided to bring these geeks in. Do you know who came in second? Trivia.
I don't.
Who came in second to Hank the Angry Drunken Dwarf?
Pamela Anderson.
Nope. Ric Flair.
Oh.
Yep.
That's a much better choice.
You know who came in third?
Pamela Anderson.
Leonardo DiCaprio. Coming off Titanic.
Mm-hmm. Are the men not voting in this?
Guess not. Well, the men all voted for Hank.
Okay. Makes sense.
And Ric Flair.
Yeah, really. Anyway, so Jackal gives Hank a chance to say something. Hank spoke for about 10 seconds, said something about the poll ruining his friend's life, but he'd already cursed 3 times in these 10 seconds, so Jackal pulled the mic away.
He dropped 3 F-bombs on this taped show.
So Jackal goes to interview Bob. He says addiction is nothing to laugh at. He gets Bob to say something. Then he brings out the rest of the oddities. Princess Luna, Golga, who is Earthquake under a mask with lumps in his mask, and Giant Silva, who is Giant Silva.
Paul Silva.
Yeah.
I like that better.
How about Gigante Silva?
It works too.
How about just PS? No?
Purely sexy?
Sure.
Yeah. So
yes, I'm tall. How about that?
It's a footnote.
Yeah.
Ah.
So Jackal poses in the ring. Everyone embraces him. And just when I think it can't get any worse, the headbangers come out.
Who are the oddities here?
So
I thought they were going to join.
Golga versus Thrasher. John Tenta was lean here.
Yes.
He was like down 100 pounds or more from the Earthquake days. And he destroyed this headbanger, hit 100 moves in a row, and won with a power slam.
Yeah.
That was the best headbangers match I ever saw. So that was Thrasher who got pinned in the singles match. Mosh attacks Golga. Giant Silva lays him out with a headbutt, then lays out the referee with a headbutt as well.
He was giant. I'll give him that. That was not false advertising.
Probably still is.
This wasn't good TV.
Meh.
I was offended by this.
Well, yeah.
It was weird. It was the 90s.
You got a better shot of the shadowy figure. They had to redo the whole thing because the first one sucked so bad.
Do you know that whenever Wang is on the show, like, I have people claim that Wang's part of my whack pack?
Yeah.
All right.
Like, have you ever watched... Did you guys all watch this segment right here? Wang is a guy who's kind of a geek. There's no... I don't know. It's just so stupid. You know what it is, Vinny? It's stupid. Craig, you got that? It's stupid.
Sure.
So Al Snow is still in disguise in the upper decks of the stadium or the arena for some reason.
Wearing a cowboy hat and a bandana.
I wish he left.
to mask his and he had the same
And
getup
the
on the head.
head was also disguised.
Yeah.
In case, I guess he wanted to think it was a different head.
Sure.
He was carrying around. That's creepy. Austin was still taunting Vince in the cop car. Vader versus Double J. So Vader had the match won in a minute with a splash, but Tennessee Lee took the ref. Then Vader had the match won with a power bomb, while Vader took the ref. Somewhere in here, Michael Cole says he's being a company man. Like, you can tell he's reading the script he's been given. Vader's in great shape. The Mastodon's as scary as ever. And Jim Ross is an honest person. He just says, I don't know what you're looking at. It's the fattest guy I've ever seen in my life.
I don't know if those were his exact words.
That's not a quote, but I
did point out
promise you that's the message that was implied.
Pendulous gut.
Yes. So Vader goes after Tennessee Lee. Double J chop blocks and goes after the knee. Vader makes a comeback. It's a middle rope splash. Then Kane runs down and attacks for the DQ. Because Lord knows you can't let Double J get pinned.
Well, Kane and Vader are wrestling on the pay-per-view the next Sunday.
Right. So if Vader gets
Vader
a
should
pin
win.
over a man.
He should beat Jeff Jarrett.
Absolutely.
Kane throws Vader into the stairs and leaves him lying. So the cops finally let Vince and the Stooges out of the car. They've been locked in this apparently legit locked in this cop car for an hour. They come out, they're all drenched in sweat. Just miserable human beings. And the deal is, they have been told that the cops will release Vince and his cronies, and Austin will drop charges if Vince will meet his conditions. The first condition is he must apologize. So Vince says, I apologize to the former WWF champion. Now uncuff me. And Austin, of course, does not accept this. Do it again. So Vince hangs his head and softly says that he apologizes. And Austin messes up his hair and says, you're a good kid. And he walks away.
So what was the second condition?
We found out later.
Oh.
So the cops start to uncuff everyone. And they take off Vince's cuffs, and then they go to take off Briscoe's and Patterson's. And Vince is hanging his head. It's the worst day of McMahon's life. And then the very last shot is he looks up and looks at where Austin walked away. You have never seen hatred in a man's eyes. He's going to get Austin for making him do this. Vince McMahon was the best, and Vince versus Austin was the best feud of all time. Period.
Yeah.
We do the intro for hour 2, and Vince and the Stooges come to the ring for a promo. Vince is very sad. I can't believe Steve Austin has done this horrible thing to him. I hope you had fun, Austin. I hope you're proud. Making me do an apology that I did not mean. He's sure to emphasize this.
He's just so awesome. He has just had a grovel. He's been arrested. He's been humiliated. He's sweating bullets. He finally gets released. He has to come out here, and he has to be a big shot.
Yeah.
I'm not intimidated by anybody on the WWE roster.
That, you see, is the key to your other question. To make sure there's a fair special referee, that Vince would be a fair special referee, Austin demanded there would be another superstar at ringside to keep an eye on Vince.
I see.
And this is why Vince said he's not intimidated. Now he's going to punish Austin by booking him against The Undertaker for tonight. Everyone cheers because they love both guys, and Vince smiles and nods. He says, I've been knocked down, but now I've gotten back up. I have stood up to Steve Austin, and I have done the right thing. That was the look on his face.
You know, this storyline, if you remember, I think it was before the the Undertaker versus Shane McMahon match, where, remember Vince, 19 years later, I guess it would have been 18 years later or whatever, he wanted Undertaker to be his hired gun. Undertaker was always the guy where, when the shit went down, Vince wanted this guy to come do all of his dirty work. He was the baddest man. Backfired here on this show.
It did.
But he tried then, and he tried throughout the years. It was an ongoing, long-term storyline. I've always got my Undertaker.
DX had a secret meeting at an airport.
Does anybody remember this?
No. I actually do. I remember the payoff.
This was so clearly pre-9/11.
Well, yes.
These fucking idiots are out on the tarmac. Yeah. There's airplanes all over, and they're just fucking around with a camera running and getting in and out of airplanes.
Basically.
I don't think you can do that.
No. I wouldn't try. So what this is like a 2-minute deal that had about 50 edits. So I imagine they just went out there, ad-libbed for 20 minutes, and then just took the good stuff and chopped it down. So
a lot of ball trauma.
it was fun. Well, the first thing you see is from right to left, Billy, China, X-Pac, and Road Dogg. And the thing comes up, and there's like, military music and the drum beat playing. And China goes to do the cup check on Billy and X-Pac.
No, Triple H said, "Attention!"
I see.
And she stood at attention and smacked both of them in the
Well, that was the gag, but it was very, very fake.
Oh, absolutely.
But then Road Dogg was laughing at them. So X-Pac did one very legit to him.
Yes.
I laughed. Because friends hitting each other in the balls is funny. So
No, it's not.
Hunter gives a speech. It's all edited to hell, but he's making a bunch of war references and combat and going into battle and says, someone's got to fly this plane. And we do have a legit war veteran here in Road Dogg, but I'm afraid it's not going to be you. It's going to be me. And they all kind of joke about him flying somewhere. And he goes to get in the plane. They're like, no, not that plane. That one way down there. And he stops and looks at that plane and says, that's too far. Have it drive up here. And then it just ended. I laughed. This is 4 goofballs hanging out and amusing themselves.
That's exactly what it was.
I laughed at this part.
I laughed at the next one.
Al Snow also assaulted Jerry Lawler, was taken away by security and never seen again. What a push. What a run this has been for Al Snow so far.
Dude. This sucks. Am I wrong? Does it not suck? Does it not suck?
Everything with Al Snow has sucked so far.
Okay. And this fucking head.
Yes. Taka Michinoku versus Dick Togo.
Sucks.
Look at him. Never seen Crick so happy.
Knew it's coming.
Taka Michinoku versus Dick Togo. I just killed him. So these guys had about, 3 minutes. They crammed in all the cool shit they could cram into this short little match. Taka won with a Hurricane Rana out of nowhere. And Kai and Tai jumped Taka afterwards, laid him out with a Fisherman Buster, a Powerbomb, and the Senton Bomb. They were sure to explain, Bradshaw's not here tonight, so there's no one here to help Taka.
Where was he?
Because he has no other friends.
Where was
He has
Bradshaw?
one friend in all the United States.
Bradshaw's got one fucking job. It's show up on Monday night. Where was he?
I don't know.
They didn't even bother to explain. They just said he's not here.
To be fair, this was the best light
some.
heavyweight championship match I've seen in
That's true.
months.
Since they started this whole division.
What are you talking about? Are you counting Nitro the same night?
No.
No, on Raw.
No, absolutely not Nitro. No, this is the best WWF light heavyweight match since they started the division. Am I missing a Brian Christopher classic?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't remember. It's 2 minutes.
This was good. Most of them suck.
It was almost 4 minutes and it was good. Your point stands. I know.
I'm going to find a good one.
Back at the airport, DX is getting worried because Hunter is still gone. It's been almost an hour, they said.
This was where I laughed.
This was from start to finish on this one.
They all took turns in the calmest manner possible saying, if he doesn't come back, I'll take over. Meaning, if he dies,
Yeah.
I'll
I'm
be in charge.
I like when X-Pac says, if he doesn't come back, I'll handle things. Billy says, what are you going to handle? And X-Pac says, things.
Road Dogg dropped a rockabilly.
That's the finish. I like when Billy says, he's been gone for an hour, we're worried, maybe we should go look for him. And X-Pac turns and looks at him and says, he's in a plane, we're on the ground, can you fly? And finally, yes, they're talking about what a terrible idea this is. And Road Dogg, with his back to Billy Gunn, says, he says something like, keep your mouth shut, and then he calls him Rockabilly.
He just dropped a rockabilly,
Yeah.
and Billy Gunn was not expecting it.
No.
He was not happy.
No.
He smiled, but Road Dogg knew I crossed a line.
Yes. We're friends and all, but
I need to apologize for this one right now.
like he says Rockabilly, and Billy holds up his hands, the universal sign for stop to all sides. Like, stop the cameras if you want to, but to everyone stop. And Road Dogg just stops and turns around, and he knew he'd gone too far. And he also holds up the stop sign for he wants peace. He doesn't want Billy to beat his ass. And he just says, I apologize. That went too far.
This was unscripted.
Yes.
Obviously. And it was great.
It was awesome. Marc Mero versus Farooq.
Oh, boy.
I do love that Mero shows off a contract, and it reads, you pointed this out last week.
Yes,
I
he
told
did.
you.
But I saw, I I know.
How'd you not see it last week?
I don't know.
They put it right up to the camera.
I don't know.
They did this week, too.
It says contract in giant letters. There's 400 tiny words. It says Sable in giant letters. 400 tiny words. Marc Mero. I need to get a lawyer to look at this. So Farooq and Marc Mero did a match.
Look good to me.
Farooq and Marc Mero did a match. Sable distracted Mero. Farooq won with the clothesline. I have nothing else to say.
I got a lot to say. Sable distracted Marc, and Farooq pinned him with a clothesline. It wasn't even a lariat. Wasn't a devastating clothesline.
Wasn't a sickle.
He turned around and clotheslined the guy, and then covered him and was victorious. Marc Mero's career is done for. And then they do the big angle where Mero says, listen, Sable, if you can find any WWE superstar who can beat me at the pay-per-view without your help, I will tear up this contract. You will be free. But if I win, when I win, you must leave WWE forever. So it's guaranteed he's losing again.
Yeah.
It's like the Juventud Guerrera push.
Well, I see your point, except the whole goal of this was not to get Mero over, it was to get Sable over. The Hoovy push was actually intended to get Hoovy over.
I love the idea that they needed to do something to get Sable over.
Well, there's also
Exactly.
What the fuck are you talking
that.
about?
There's also that.
There she is. Look at her. Wow, she's over.
Put her in a bikini and she's over. Is it that hard? Do we have to kill Marc Mero's career?
Pat Patterson highlight video.
The fucking best part of this. You already know where I'm going.
Oh, I do.
They're doing this video package. They talk about Pat's career. Vince talks about how he retired in 1984 and became a fabulous broadcaster. And they... Dude, here's what's amazing. They got 100,000 hours of footage. They found the worst footage you could possibly find of Pat Patterson doing broadcasting. He's talking about some apple. I don't even know what he's talking about.
Mumbling.
It was
He's stuttering.
so... They couldn't have found a worse one in 100,000 hours of footage. This is such... Like, here's why it's so great. All the stupid WWE comedy... Well, I shouldn't say all of it. The Fashion Files is very high-quality, high-caliber comedy. But most of the comedy is stupid, and it's patently obvious it's stupid, and then they have to explain the joke, and it dies. This was great comedy. They treated this like it was a legitimate, like, tribute package for the guy.
Yes.
Almost like he died. Mm-hmm. But it was complete bullshit.
Of course.
And it was designed in a way to make you laugh and realize what a numbskull the guy is. Because the Stooges are all numbskulls.
Yeah.
I love this with all of my heart.
It is the best.
This was a rare cheese in the Big Mac that was awesome.
They said he would be proud to be the ring announcer on Sunday. So we got the payoff to the DX stuff.
Was that Triple H saying cockpit?
With his hands
with
on the
more
stick.
joy than anyone has ever said the word cockpit in their life.
And considering you are here, that's still saying something. So yes, they took a bunch of stock footage of like the Blue Angels and other fighter jets and missiles and warfare, and they put in Hunter doing a voiceover. He says he is in the cockpit with his hands on the stick. Then they showed the word Nitro on the most low-rent stadium sign imaginable. I'm not even sure it was WCW Nitro. It may have been Nitro car racing or something. It actually said, this is true. The Nitro was in the electric part, and then the sign part just read, Roberts, Munich, PAL Stadium. Because the letters were falling off. Then we got fake skywriting. Here, I wrote it all down.
I could have sworn in the Observer, Dave wrote about this as if there was actual skywriting.
He may have.
There was not skywriting.
No.
This was totally fake.
So the skywriting read, Hey WCW, suck it, DX rules, followed by DX Army bombs WCW, then followed by Triple H versus The Rock tonight on Raw. Then they dropped a bomb and apparently blew up WCW. So apparently the war is over and Raw won. And WCW is all dead.
Well, that's correct.
Well, it is, but I meant...
That is correct.
It was not true in
time.
1998. So This was really, really stupid, but I will at least say this is a self-aware kind of stupid.
Sure.
That's the best I can say about it. Rock versus Triple H.
Rock came out with another goddamn Viagra.
Yes.
Can we quit with the Viagra? God. It's a dick pill. Like, we got it. It's been weeks now. How long is this joke going to be funny to Vince Russo? I mean, probably still to this day,
this?
but
Yes.
Jesus Christ. I was sick of it.
So,
DX are clearly baby faces now.
kinda.
And no, they were
they're
baby
baby
faces.
faces.
They were baby faces here. This was the beginning of a rivalry that 19 years later still kind of exists.
Yes.
Both guys totally driven to be better than the other. Although really, it was more Hunter was driven to be better than The Rock, and The Rock was just driven to be better than everybody.
Better than wrestling.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
And then they had a lame DQ.
So they had a match. Lots of interference from China and Mark Henry. Lots of belt shots and guys kicking out. And let's see. A double count out, actually. Because neither the Intercontinental Champion nor the European Champion, which I forgot Hunter was, neither of them could lose. I thought it was a boring match with no winner.
But it was worth it for the post-match.
So Farooq jumps Rocky in the aisle and beats him up. He takes him up on the stage where he delivers a pile driver. Do you guys remember about 20 years ago,
I know what you're going to say.
Tommy Dreamer
Absolutely.
grabbed Rob Van Dam and hit a pile driver, and Rob bounced maybe legit 15 feet in the air?
Yep.
This had to be the second highest bounce off a pile driver
Absolutely.
ever. And it was on the stage.
I think this was the best pile driver I ever saw.
It may be.
Rob Van Dam's was a little too wacky. It was like too much of a cartoon. This was like real looking.
Sorta.
And the best part is, whenever I rant about this or that, chair shots to the head or whatever, every now and then somebody's going to bring up, well, pile drivers are so dangerous. Pile drivers are not dangerous. If you do a pile driver right, it's not dangerous at all. This was so safe, but it looked so devastating.
This looks so devastating. I thought to myself here in 2017, Rock needs to take the rest of 1998 off and then come back in a neck brace like Nikita Koloff.
Sure, yeah.
He'll be at the pay-per-view.
It was such a fabulous, amazing pile driver. Why didn't Farooq use this as his finish? Why did he use that stupid Dominator? Because Jerry Lawler had the pile driver? Is that why?
I don't think everybody would take it like The Rock took it.
It doesn't matter. He could deliver it. That's half the battle. And if he could just stay upside down.
The last part of this was they cut to the ring where Hunter was laughing his ass off.
So was I.
Because his enemy had just been bounced off his head.
I loved it.
So Steve Austin versus The Undertaker is the advertised main event.
This was almost the beginning of another classic rivalry.
Vince comes out as the surprise special guest ref in his 2 sizes too tight ref shirt with the sleeves cut off. And out comes Undertaker. Undertaker does his whole entrance, and it takes several minutes. And the whole time Taker's doing his entrance, Vince is standing in the ring just cocky and proud and happy. Because this giant dead guy is about to kill Steve Austin. He's happy. And it's all his idea.
He's the cock of the walk.
He's pulling the strings. He's happy about all this. And Taker gets in the ring, and he just walks up to Vince, and he's not part of Vince's plan. And Vince is surprised by this and kind of taken aback. Taker steps forward. Vince steps back. It's kind of like, what are you doing? And clearly now Vince is getting a little more confused, a little more scared. Then it turns out there was good reason, because Taker just grabs him and chokeslams him right in the middle of the ring.
He got this guy up so high, and he put him down so perfectly.
Oh, yeah.
This was a fabulous choke slam.
Taker's great at wrestling.
He is great.
Looked exactly like the way you would have chokeslammed your boss fake.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. So he's going for a tombstone when Kane comes out. Kane and Taker have a brawl that was, no joke, the best action on the show of any non-Japanese people. They quickly brawl through the crowd into the back. The Stooges come out to check on Vince. Austin's music hits. He comes out. He's all dressed to wrestle, of course. He stuns Briscoe. He stuns Patterson.
You gotta go back a little ways. The setup for this, like, it's supposed to be the Undertaker versus Steve Austin. Mm-hmm. Undertaker comes out, and he goes after Vince. He gives Vince the big choke slam. Vince is dead. Out comes Kane. They have this brawl, and as they're brawling, Patterson and Briscoe come in, and Patterson, Briscoe, and Vince are all alone in the ring.
Yeah.
The Undertaker's gone. Kane's gone. They brawled into the crowd. Patterson, Briscoe, and Vince are all alone in the ring. And then the glass breaks, and the fans went nuts. Because again, you can't beat up Vince and the Stooges enough.
Oh.
There's clearly not a limit to it. He comes out again. You know, there's often a deal. Now, if you're Austin or The Rock, this does not apply, like usual, and even Ric Flair. But for most people, if you come out at the beginning of the show, and then you come out later in the show, you're always going to get less of a reaction.
Yes.
You're always going to see fewer viewers if you look at the television ratings. Not Rock, not Austin, not Flair. Steve Austin came out to beat up Vince for the second fucking time he was going to humiliate him on this show. They went crazy. And of course, he stuns the Stooges. Place is going crazy. He goes after Vince. He ties him in the ropes. The place is ballistic for all of this. And Vince sold it like a king.
So Vince is tied in the ropes, which, by the way, these ropes were not very loose. I bet that was painful. But he gets him in the ropes, Austin does. He grabs a chair. It is time for the death of Vince McMahon here on TV. He's menacing Vince. He's talking shit to Vince, terrorizing him. But just as he's about to deliver the blow, here's Dude Love with a chair. And the only flaw in this show, well, not the only flaw, the biggest flaw in this show, Dude Love's main eventing in 6 days. He had 5 seconds of screen time and it was him getting beat up. Now, I know he's a bit player. He is the puppet, and Vince is the one really in charge. But still, they could have done something in this go-home show to make him more dangerous. Dude hits the ring with a chair. Austin hits his chair into Dude's, which hits Dude in the head. He goes down. And the Stooges are able to free Vince and get him to safety, and they run for their lives. It was a great angle to close a very fun show.
Vince has got to go back like every week. He needs to do what we're doing. He needs to go back and watch every single Raw starting at like the Survivor Series and try to remember, because he probably doesn't even remember. There's so much shit going on. He needs to remember why the Vince McMahon-Steve Austin feud was so great. And he needs to try to do something like that today. The only problem is if he did it again today, the Vince McMahon character would be played by Hunter or Stephanie, and it would never work because neither of them would be willing to go out there every single show, sometimes twice per show. Sometimes nowadays it would have to be 3 times per show because it's a 3-hour Raw, and be humiliated on a weekly basis. They would never allow themselves to do that, so it'll never be this great again.
Not to mention, you can't have man-on-woman violence.
You need a different way to humiliate Stephanie.
It shouldn't be Stephanie, is my point.
Right.